Welcome to the audiobook Forgotten by Design, The Silent Epidemic of Digital Dementia.
12 hours is an age adrift in forgetting. This book is a lantern's glow, a compass's true north, a reminder's quiet call. That your mind is not a feed. Your memory is not obsolete. Your attention is not for sale. You are not a user. You are a witness. And now, your journey begins. Chapter 1, The day I Googled my own birthday. It began as a mundane digital hiccup, a moment so insignificant that under normal circumstances, I might have ignored it. I was trying to book a flight ticket when I encountered a prompt asking for my date of birth. My fingers froze. I stared at the screen, puzzled. There was a strange void in my mind where that answer should have been. It lasted only a second or two, but the weight of that pause crushed me. My birthday. How could I forget that? I reflexively opened Facebook, scrolled to the About section of my profile, and there it was, April 21st. A rush of embarrassment crept in. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just an off day, maybe I had too much on my mind. But the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the glow of my phone still dancing on the walls. I tried an experiment. I closed my eyes and attempted to recall as many 13 phone numbers as I could. My childhood home landline -2441556 came instantly. My father's old office number? Not a chance. My mother's cell phone number? Blank. What about my own? Another blank. It wasn't just about numbers. I tried to visualize the roads I used to walk home from school, the precise color of the tiles in my grandmother's kitchen, and the poem I had recited for a third-grade competition. I came up short every time. What disturbed me most wasn't the forgetting, it was how normal it had become. In the days that followed, I became more aware of the subtle cracks in my cognitive framework. I would enter a room and forget why I had walked in. I would pick up my phone to check an email and find myself, 15 minutes later, watching a video of someone making artisanal soap in Tuscany. I hadn't even remembered the email. I started to ask around. Surely, I wasn't the only one? I talked to a friend, Niraj, a sharp consultant who once memorized every statistic in a 60-page market research report. Now, he had 4 different password manager apps because he couldn't trust his memory anymore. I met a 27-year-old software engineer in Pune, who admitted she hadn't memorized a single phone number in the last 5 years, not even her boyfriend's. Why would I? She asked. That's what contacts are for. When I told her I once knew 20 numbers by heart, she looked at me like I'd just claimed to communicate via Morse code. At first, I thought we were just lazy. But the deeper I dug, the clearer it became. We weren't lazy. We were rewired. I started studying how memory works. Memory isn't a single system but a complex network of interrelated processes. Short-term memory holds things for seconds. Long-term memory stores them for life, but only if you revisit them. Memory is like a trail in the forest. Walk it often, and it stays clear. Neglect it, and nature swallows it up. 14. This trail metaphor reminded Maine of ancient forest paths used in tribal India. Long before GPS, people navigated entire forests based on memory. Elders passed down paths orally. The forest wasn't scary because it was familiar. Now, we can't walk 2 blocks without checking Google Maps. And when the signal disappears, so does our confidence. In ancient Indian scriptures like the Vedas, memory, or smriti was considered sacred. It was not merely about recall but about identity, duty, and rhythm. You remembered your mantras because they connected you to the cosmos. You remembered rituals because they rooted you in time. Today, our rituals are push notifications. At a school reunion, I spoke with a friend, who now teaches high school in Bangalore. My students can solve equations in Python, she told me, but they can't remember their own exam roll numbers without checking their notes app. She laughed, but it wasn't funny. This is the paradox of our age: more access to information, less retention. We don't commit things to memory because we assume we can always look them up. But memory isn't just about facts, it's about identity. I visited my grandmother shortly after. She's 83 and never went to school. Yet she recited the names, birth dates, and favorite foods of all 12 grandchildren. "Your birthday is April 21, she said. It rained that day. Your mother was in labor for 12 hours. You were born at night, just after the power came back. She told me what I wore when I first walked. What lullaby she used to sing me." She remembered everything not because she had an extraordinary brain, but because she paid attention. And she repeated these stories over and over until they were etched into her soul. "Beta," she said, "if you don't remember your stories, who will?" That line haunted me. Because it wasn't just about birthdays or phone numbers anymore. It was about losing our narratives. Stories, after all, are memory in motion. If we don't remember where we've been, we don't know where we're going. 15 I started rethinking my relationship with memory. I tried leaving my phone behind when I went for walks. I began memorizing short poems, old phone numbers, addresses. It was frustrating at first. My brain felt sluggish, like a rusted engine. But slowly, something shifted. I could recall verses. I could picture roads more vividly. I could remember names without checking LinkedIn. There was a moment that convinced me this was more than nostalgia. It was recovery. I was waiting in a queue at the airport. The woman ahead of me dropped her boarding pass. I bent down to pick it up and caught a glimpse of her name. An hour later, she approached me at the baggage carousel. "You remembered my name," she said, surprised. I had addressed her as Ms. Roy without realizing it. "It just stuck," I replied. Her eyes lit up. No one remembers names anymore. That interaction stayed with me for days. It reminded me that memory isn't just personal, rather relational. Remembering someone's name, their favorite song, or the story they once told you isn't trivial. It's how we connect. This act of remembrance connects not just individuals but generations. In the Puranas, memory was said to carry karmic energy. What we forget, we are doomed to repeat. What we remember, we can transcend. Perhaps we are forgetting the wrong things, important lessons, values, experiences. And remembering the wrong ones, trivial info. When we let devices take over those small acts of remembrance, we lose more than memory. We lose intimacy. As I write this, I still use Google Calendar. I still store contacts on my phone. But I also remember my wife's phone number now. I can recite 3 poems I learned in school. I've stopped using GPS for routes I should know. I trust my brain to remember, and it's responding. This chapter started with a forgotten birthday. But it ends with something much deeper, a desire to reclaim the mind. To walk the trails of memory again. To not let 16 the machines remember for me. Because I've realized something very simple and very profound: if we forget how to remember, we forget how to live. Chapter 2, Welcome to the Attention Strip Club. It starts innocently enough. You pick up your phone to check the weather. One swipe leads to a notification. Then a message. A meme. A video. Before you know it, you've been scroll hypnotized for 30 minutes with no memory of how you got there. That's when it hits you. You're not scrolling. You're being danced around by a machine. And your attention is the currency. Welcome to the Attention Strip Club. 17. This club doesn't have neon lights or dancers on poles. Its stage is a 6-inch glass screen glowing in your palm. The performance is endless: dopamine-charged reels, emotional bait headlines, rabbit hole YouTube suggestions, algorithmic outrage. And every swipe, every like, every pause is a dollar tip from your consciousness to the house of big tech. One night, I caught myself watching a video about the rituals of seahorses at 2 a.m. I had started watching a tech review for a phone I wasn't going to buy. Somewhere between autoplay and curiosity, I got trapped. I laughed. Seahorses, really? But then I didn't laugh. Because I realized I couldn't recall the last time I had consciously decided what to watch. The machine had been deciding for me. Our attention wasn't always this fragile. In the past, focus was survival. A distracted hunter was a dead hunter. Even in mythology, the sharpest minds were those who could channel one-pointed concentration, what yogis called dharana. Arjuna, the great archer from the Mahabharata, could hit the eye of a bird in flight because he saw only the eye, nothing else. He was the prototype of perfect focus. Compare that to our state now, where we check our phones 96 times a day on average. Neuroscience has a name for this cognitive splintering, attentional residue. Every time we switch tasks, let's say from writing an email to checking Instagram, a residue of the first task lingers in our mind, preventing full engagement with the next. We think we're multitasking, but really we're just fractioning our consciousness. Bit by bit. Swipe by swipe. Let me take you to a CO working cafe in Gurgaon I visited recently. It was packed with freelancers, founders, and creators, our new age warriors of productivity. But here's the catch, every 5 minutes, someone checked their phone. Every 10 minutes, someone plugged in their AirPods and scrolled Spotify. I sat across a woman coding an app, her Slack pinged, she switched tabs, then opened Twitter, smiled at a meme, checked WhatsApp, sipped her latte, and finally returned to the code. 3 minutes later, it started again. I counted. The result: busyness without output. Motion without movement. 18. Now consider this, the average human attention span has dropped from 12 seconds from the year 2000 to 8 seconds in recent years. A goldfish's attention span clocks in at 9 seconds. We are officially less focused than a fish. And it's not an accident. In 2017, former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris called out the industry, "Your attention is being hijacked. Every ping is engineered. Every pull to refresh mimics a slot machine. The more unpredictable the reward, the more addicted we become. We have become neurological junkies for novelty." The Bhagavad Gita speaks of the mind as both friend and enemy. An uncontrolled mind leads to bondage, a controlled one to liberation. But how can we control our minds when the tools we use daily are designed to keep them unsteady? This chapter isn't about villainizing tech. It's about reclaiming agency. The problem isn't the device. It's our relationship with it. A phone is a tool. But when the tool starts shaping the craftsman, we have a problem. Imagine if a hammer decided when, how, and why you should build something. That's where we are. I experimented. I deleted Instagram for a week. The first day was uneasy. My thumb instinctively swiped to where the app used to be. By the third day, I noticed silence. Not in the environment, but in my head. Fewer loops, less anxiety. More linear thinking. I could read 3 chapters of a book without checking my phone. My dreams returned and all were vivid, strange, alive. There's an old Buddhist story about a monk who trained himself to hear the silence between sounds. He said that real wisdom lay not in reacting to every noise, but in learning to appreciate the stillness in between. We've lost that space between the notes. Between thoughts. We live in a symphony of alerts. 19. Let me tell you about a graphic designer from Mumbai. He was experiencing chronic burnout. He blamed deadlines, bad clients, and erratic sleep. But when he tracked his day using a journal, he discovered something revealing, and that was spending nearly 6 hours a day on social media. Not all at once. In 5-minute slices. A scroll here, a light there. Death by 1,000 distractions. I asked him, when was the last time you did deep work? He looked at me, confused. What do you mean? I meant work without interruption. Flow state. The kind of immersion that makes hours disappear. He couldn't remember. So we made a pact that he would uninstall every distracting app for a week and only allow 2 check-in windows per day. Day 2, he messaged me, I finally finished that logo I've been stuck on for a month. What he found wasn't just productivity. He found peace. You see, attention is not just about output. It's sacred. In every religion, prayer begins with attention. Mantras, rosaries, chants, these are technologies of focus. They bind the mind. Steady the breath. Still the noise. Our modern rituals are different now. We wake up and check notifications before we check in with ourselves. Our prayers have become hashtags. Our sacred space has become a screen. But not all is lost. Space telescopes like James Webb are capturing galaxies billions of light years away. What's fascinating is how they do it, by focusing on the same patch of space for weeks, letting photons trickle in. The deeper they look, the more ancient the light. The secret to discovering the universe, it turns out, is sustained attention. What if the same applies to discovering ourselves? Every time we reclaim our attention, we reclaim a piece of our soul. Every time we resist the itch to swipe, we create room for clarity. Every moment of presence is an act of rebellion. 20 Welcome to the Attention Strip Club. The house always wins until you walk out. Close the tab. Breathe. Choose stillness. The cosmos, after all, is not in a rush. And neither should you be. Chapter 3, The Oracle has a battery low warning. There was a time when oracles spoke from mountaintops, when shamans danced in trance around sacred fires, and when wisdom was drawn not from devices but 21 from silence. Today, our oracles glow in rectangles. They buzz. They track. They notify. They offer directions to the nearest cafe and answers to the meaning of life, all in the same breath. But what happens when the oracle, too, runs out of charge? I was on a solo trip to a remote village in the Himalayas, a place with no signal, no Wi-Fi, and barely any electricity. I had come in search of quiet. I didn't realize until I got there how addicted I was to knowing everything immediately. The first night, I wanted to know the weather forecast. Then, the meaning of a local phrase I overheard. Then, what time the moon would rise. My hand kept reaching for my phone like a reflex, like muscle memory. But there was no oracle to consult. No Google. No AI. Just stars. And questions. At first, it was unsettling. I had become used to the constant stream of confirmation. The idea that everything could and should be verified. But over those few days, something profound began to happen. I began to trust my own senses again. I noticed the way clouds gathered over the hills before rain. I followed the rustling of leaves to spot monkeys in the trees. I relied on villagers to tell me stories, instead of Wikipedia. I became present. We often think of wisdom as something external, something found in books or spoken by experts. But our ancestors didn't rely on apps. They listened to their bodies. They watched the skies. They read the signs in nature. In the Rigveda, rishis didn't download knowledge, they remembered it from deep within. The word shruti literally means that which is heard and not from outside, but within, from silence. We have replaced inner listening with Google search. And yet, there's something strange about our reliance on modern tech oracles. They're getting smarter while we're getting slower. We rely on them for everything. Spelling, dates, decisions, routes, recipes, diagnoses, you name it. We outsource our intuition. There is actually no true north left for our inner compass. 22 I once asked my niece why she believed an influencer who claimed lemon water cured cancer. She replied, "He has millions of followers, and it was trending." In her world, virality equals truth. When I tried to explain that science takes years to validate even the simplest claims, she shrugged. "I don't have time for all that. I just Google it." But here's the danger: Google doesn't know what you need, it knows what you want. It's trained to give you answers that confirm your biases, keep you engaged, and sell you things. The oracle is biased. And it wants your attention more than your liberation. Now imagine if ancient sages were like our current algorithms. Imagine Vasishta recommending mantras based on trending hashtags. Or the Oracle of Delphi filtering prophecies based on ad revenue. The absurdity makes us laugh. But it's happening. We mistake data for wisdom. Information for insight. Science tells us that the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and decision-making, gets overloaded when we're flooded with data. Cognitive fatigue sets in. We start making poor choices, not because we lack intelligence, but because our brain is simply tired. Here's a true story. A stock analyst in Delhi prided himself on his data-driven decisions. He used a dozen tools: daily news aggregators, sentiment analyzers, financial dashboards. But he found himself increasingly anxious. He second-guessed every trade. When the market dipped, he didn't rely on his experience, he Googled what to do. One day, he made a decision based on a Reddit thread. He lost 8 lakhs. He confessed to me, "I knew better. I just couldn't think clearly. I needed someone or something to tell me what to do." He was outsourcing his agency. The oracle had short-circuited his instinct. This is what we risk in the digital age. The death of discernment. 23 The yogic tradition speaks of buddhi, the intelligence that discerns truth. It isn't book smart or street smart. It is soul smart. It's the quiet voice that whispers when something doesn't feel right. We all have it. But like any muscle, it weakens when not used. Every time we look for an external answer, we silence that voice. Every time we let tech think for us, we forget how to think for ourselves. And yet, not all is lost. There is a different kind of oracle inside us. One that doesn't need 5G or charging ports. One that emerges when we disconnect from noise. The ancient seers knew this. So did Da Vinci, Einstein, and Rumi. Their greatest insights didn't come while chilling into dopamine minefields, but in solitude, reflection, and flow. One night, back in the Himalayas, I sat by a bonfire with an old man who had never used the internet. He was humming an ancient tune, eyes half closed. I asked him, "Don't you feel like you're missing out? The world is moving so fast." He smiled. "When the river flows too fast, the fish die. I sit by the bank, and I listen. The river tells me everything I need." That hit me. It reminded me that slowing down is not backward. It's remembering forward. Remembering a deeper intelligence. One that doesn't come from swipes and searches, but from silence and stillness. The oracle may give you answers. But your intuition gives you questions worth asking. And sometimes, wisdom begins not when your battery is full, but when it finally runs out. 24 Chapter 4, Alone together in a room full of blue light, we sit shoulder to shoulder in cafes, trains, airport lounges. A sea of bowed heads, illuminated by blue light. The atmosphere buzzes with silent energy. Not a single word is spoken, yet 1,000 messages are being typed, sent, scrolled, and consumed. We are together. And yet, profoundly alone. Once upon a time, loneliness was simple. It meant being physically distant. Isolated. Separated. But today, loneliness wears a digital mask. You can be surrounded by hundreds of virtual connections and still feel utterly unseen. One evening, I attended a friend's birthday dinner. 12 of us sat around a beautiful table. Candles flickered. Laughter echoed, briefly. Soon, phones emerged like weapons of distraction. One by one, heads bent. Instagram stories were posted. WhatsApp messages checked. For a solid 10 minutes, no one spoke. I looked around and realized I was in a room full of ghosts, present in body, absent in spirit. It reminded me of a line from the Upanishads: the self is not known through the senses, nor through the mind, but only to the one who seeks within. Our modern world is designed to keep us looking outward, constantly. The blue light from our screens is the new sun we orbit. But it doesn't nourish us. It drains us. Science backs this up. A 2018 study found that individuals who spent more than 2 hours a day on social media were significantly more likely to report feelings of social isolation than those who didn't. Why? Because digital interaction, while wide, is shallow. We exchange emojis instead of emotions. Memes instead of memories. My friend once told me about her struggle with anxiety. She had over 4,000 followers and was known for her funny, relatable reels. Yet every night, she felt a crushing sense of loneliness. Everyone thinks I'm happy. But no one calls. No one visits. It's like I've become a brand, not a person. 25. She wasn't exaggerating. Our digital personas are often more curated than real. We Photoshop our smiles. We filter our flaws. We stage our lives for likes. And then we wonder why no one sees the real us. In mythology, there's the story of Maya, the illusion that veils the truth of existence. In the digital age, Maya has become manifest in pixels. We scroll through illusions, caught in a dream world of filtered perfection. The more we consume, the more inadequate we feel. The more connected we seem, the more disconnected we become. Technologically, this illusion is reinforced by design. Algorithms are built to reinforce comfort zones, not challenge them. You see content you agree with. You hear voices that echo yours. But growth never happens in echo chambers. Growth comes from friction, from real dialogue, from presence. During a brief stint living in Kyoto, I experienced something ancient and beautiful. The Japanese tea ceremony. There are no phones allowed. No distractions. Just two people, sharing silence, sipping tea. Every movement is deliberate. Every breath sacred. In that hour, I felt more connected with the host, a stranger, than I had with some friends I had known for years. The difference? Presence. We no longer wake up, we boot up. Our first deep breath is reserved for loading screens, not lungs. Who needs oxygen when we have got Wi-Fi? We measure our worth through likes. We confuse being seen with being known. Before we rise to meet ourselves, we rise to meet the algorithm swiping through chaos before we remember we have a heartbeat. We've become human QR codes, scannable, scrollable, but rarely present. Our souls buffering while our phones load faster than our thoughts. Biologically, constant exposure to blue light suppresses melatonin. It disrupts sleep cycles. It rewires our reward systems. But more subtly, it numbs our emotional perception. A study at Stanford showed that people who engage in 26 multitasking, especially screen-based multitasking, have lower emotional regulation and empathy. Think about that. The more we live through screens, the harder it becomes to feel for others. But loneliness is not just about others. It's about ourselves. It's about losing the ability to sit with our own thoughts, to listen to our inner voice, to nurture solitude without filling it with noise. In ancient texts, sages would go into forests not to escape but to reconnect. The forest was a metaphor for inner space, dense, dark, and quiet. That's where real transformation happens. In silence. In solitude. Now imagine this: What if the next time you felt lonely, instead of opening an app, you opened your journal? Or closed your eyes? Or took a walk without headphones? What if you chose to inhabit your loneliness, rather than numb it? Because there's a secret no one tells you: loneliness, when embraced, becomes clarity. It tells you what matters. Who matters? It shows you where you're hiding, where you're yearning. It reveals your hunger for connection, not just to people, but to purpose, to place, to presence. One winter evening, back in my apartment, I turned off every screen. No music. No TV. No phone. Just silence. At first, it felt like withdrawal. My mind itched. But then, slowly, I heard something I hadn't heard in weeks, which were my own thoughts, unfiltered. My own breath. My own being. We have become strangers to ourselves. But it's not irreversible. Every time you choose a walk over a scroll, a call over a comment, a breath over a buzz, you reclaim a part of your humanity. You become less alone. Not because others fill you, but because you start becoming whole. 27. So tonight, dim the blue light. Light a candle. Sit with your soul. And remember, true connection doesn't come from a Wi-Fi signal. It comes from stillness. It comes from choosing to be fully here. Even, especially, when you are alone. Chapter 5, Brain fog is the new smoking. It begins subtly. You walk into a room and forget why. You read a paragraph twice and still don't remember what it said. Your to-do list multiplies while your attention scatters like autumn leaves in the wind. Conversations slip. Focus feels like a myth. And amidst it all, there's this dull, persistent haze like a fog that lives inside your head. Brain fog is the new smoking, not because it kills instantly, but because it numbs slowly. It erodes cognition like water on stone, one notification, one scroll, one hit at a time. I first noticed it when I struggled to finish a book. Not a dense textbook, just a simple novel. I'd read 3 pages and find myself unlocking my phone for no reason. My brain had become allergic to stillness. I wasn't tired, but I couldn't think clearly. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't fully present either. Then I remembered a moment during my school days. Back then, time moved differently. I could sit for hours sketching, reading, dreaming. I was immersed, alive, engaged. There was space between thoughts. That space? It's gone now. What changed? Science provides a clue. The human brain evolved in nature. Trees, sky, and silence were our original operating system. But now, we live in an environment it 28 was never designed for. Our digital age floods us with more information in a day than our ancestors encountered in a lifetime. Your poor prefrontal cortex, that prima donna at the front of your skull claiming to run the whole show, is essentially having a meltdown. It's not the charming kind of tired that calls for a nap and Netflix. No, it's the I've been processing more information than any human in history was designed to handle kind of exhausted. The result? Your decision-making ability now resembles a toddler facing 31 flavors at an ice cream shop. Your emotional range has all the nuance of a brick. And your memory? Well, you've read this paragraph twice and still can't remember how it started. Welcome to cognitive fatigue. The modern brain's revenge for being treated like an infinite scroll. There's a reason you open your phone to reply to one message and end up watching dog videos for 30 minutes. The tech industry knows this. That's why infinite scroll exists. That's why notifications are red. That's why apps are designed like slot machines, random rewards that keep you hooked. It's not your fault. It's design. But it's not just about distraction. It's about identity erosion. Our thoughts are no longer our own. We are constantly reacting and rarely reflecting. We wake up to external noise, sleep to algorithmic lullabies. Our inner voice? drowned. The Bhagavad Gita talks about the restless mind, as a candle in a windless place does not flicker, so is the disciplined mind. But our modern mind flickers like a candle in a storm. We are everywhere and nowhere. Neuroscientifically, the fog deepens when we multitask. Studies from Stanford University show that heavy multitaskers have lower memory retention and reduced ability to filter irrelevant information. In essence, our brains get rewired to crave distraction. We lose the ability to do deep work. 29 I met someone who lived this truth, a UX designer named Aditya. He was brilliant, creative, and ambitious. But over time, his work suffered. His sentences were shorter. His ideas fragmented. He told me, I feel like I'm thinking through mist. Like my brain is buffering. He took a weekend off from screens. Just 48 hours. And he said something powerful, I didn't get smarter. I just got quieter. And that quiet brought clarity. This is where psychology meets practice. Our minds crave rhythm, focus, rest. We are not meant to be on all the time. The default mode network, the part of the brain activated during rest, is crucial for creativity and problem solving. But in our always-on world, we've lost that mode. We are never off. The ancient yogis knew this. That's why dhyana, meditation, was core to self-knowledge. Not as an escape, but as a return. A way to clear the fog and see the mind as it is wild, yes, but also luminous. What we call brain fog is not a personal failing. It's a collective symptom of an overstimulated civilization. And like smoking, it feels harmless at first. But over time, it clouds who we are. So what's the way out? Begin with breath. With boredom. With breaks. Let your mind wander without input. Reclaim the white space. Take digital Sabbaths. Read slowly. Write by hand. Walk without earbuds. Talk without texting. Let silence stretch. Because every moment of clarity begins with a pause. One day, I sat under a neem tree with my grandfather. He was nearly 90. No formal education. No social media. But as we sat, he recited verses from the Ramayana, perfectly. No stutter. No struggle. When I asked him how he remembered so much, he laughed. When the mind is quiet, memory lives long. You already read about the grandmother. Maybe the ancients weren't superhuman. Maybe they were just Yundi's tract. 30 The fog can lift. But first, you must stop feeding it. Breathe. Pause. Listen. And remember, clarity is not found, it is uncovered. Chapter 6, Gods Don't Use GPS, The Lost Art of Inner Navigation. It's a strange thing, really. We've never been more connected to the world and yet more disconnected from ourselves. We can arrive at a destination with surgical precision, avoiding every wrong turn, but we've forgotten how to find our own way without that soothing, robotic voice guiding us. In 300 meters, turn left. Once, not long ago, we lived in a world where we relied on stars, intuition, memory, and storytelling to move through space and life. Today, it's Google Maps, step counters, and Siri. Progress. Certainly. But in exchange, we've mortgaged an ancient faculty, the deep inner knowing that comes not from coordinates but from connection. Let's explore this through something practical. Close this book. Get up. Find a place in your city or neighborhood that you've heard about but never visited. Don't use your phone. No map. No GPS. Just your senses and your curiosity. Ask people. Use landmarks. Smell the air. Feel the ground. Navigate with awareness. Done? Probably not. Because even the idea likely made you uncomfortable. And that discomfort, that subtle anxiety, is the whisper of a disused ability calling out from within. The ancient GPS, mythology as a map. 31 Our ancestors didn't have GPS, yet they found their way across deserts, oceans, and uncharted lands. Rama walked through forests guided by Dharma, not directions. The Pandavas, during their exile, navigated both terrain and internal torment. And every ancient hero's journey was not only outward but inward. When Arjuna stood paralyzed on the battlefield, he didn't open Google Maps for clarity. He received the Gita, a download not from the cloud, but from consciousness itself. The human brain has an inbuilt GPS, guided not just by sight but by memory, intuition, and emotion. Science calls it cognitive mapping, a term coined by psychologist Edward Tolman in the 1940s. It's how rats navigated mazes, and how we once moved through forests. But that part of the brain, especially the hippocampus, is now underused. Shrinking. In fact, a 2017 study revealed that the hippocampus of London taxi drivers were trained to memorize thousands of streets without GPS and was more developed than average. When we stop navigating, we stop building mental maps. We lose our spatial intelligence, and along with it, a piece of ourselves. Exercise, find your way. Take a real challenge. Find a location. Pick a bookstore, a temple, or a friend's house. Leave your phone behind. Carry a small notebook instead. Ask for directions. Draw your own map. Track how your body feels. Does it feel anxious, alert, lost, or found? What's happening here? You're activating dormant circuits. You're entering a flow state, a quiet attentiveness where the mind begins to stretch. You may take a wrong turn, sure. But that wrong turn might lead to an unexpected conversation, a hidden lane, a memory, a story. Now, compare that with the robotic trance of following a blue dot. The game of Recall 32. Let's play a simple game. Here's a path. From the statue of the lion in the Central Park, walk east until you hit the old banyan tree. Count 7 benches, then turn right near the lamppost with a flickering light. Walk until you see a blue door. The building with the maroon flag is your destination. Now close this book. Try to sketch the path from memory. Don't cheat. If you struggled, you're not alone. Our working memory is the brain's scratchpad, which of course is weakened when it isn't exercised. We use phones for everything, reminders, directions, even emotions. That's why the fog sets in. That's why even our dreams feel outsourced. Psychology, interoception and the lost compass. Interoception, i.e. the sense of what's happening inside our body, is closely linked to inner navigation. When we lose touch with our physical sensations, we also lose access to intuitive decision-making. That gut feeling, that subtle knowing, is drowned in digital noise. In therapy, clients are sometimes asked, "Where do you feel that emotion in your body?" It's a simple question. But many can't answer it. Why? Because they live in their heads, online, abstracted from their own being. When you rely entirely on maps, you don't notice patterns. You don't engage your body. You don't feel your feet on the ground. You live externally, like a cursor on a screen. But when you walk without digital crutches, you reawaken something ancient. You begin to sense alignment, and not just in geography, but in life as well. Story: lost in Varanasi. I once visited Varanasi. No itinerary. No app. I wandered. I got lost. And in getting lost, I found more than a temple, I found stillness. An old man invited me into his 33 home for chai. We sat silently as the sun set behind the Ganges. I remember every step I took that day, every scent, every turn, every smile. Not because I screenshotted it, but because I lived it. Digital memory fades, but soul memory lingers. Reflection: ask yourself, when was the last time you relied on your own instincts? Have you ever taken a journey with no goal, no plan, just presence? Do you trust yourself to find your way without a signal? If not, why not? Because real navigation isn't just spatial, it's spiritual. It's the art of feeling your way forward. So here's your homework: 1. Take one digital-free walk every week. 2. Pick a new destination. No maps allowed. 3. Get lost on purpose. Sit in that discomfort. 4. Write down what you discovered, not just outside, but inside. Your phone may not recognize it, but that is a journey worth mapping. Because in the end, the gods never needed GPS. They moved by dharma, by alignment, by listening. You can too. The signal is not in the sky. It's already within you. 34 Chapter 7, The Instagram Sage and the TikTok Monk. You are the main character now. This chapter is not a monologue. It's a labyrinth. Every page you read is a door. Every choice you make, a different path. You are not just a reader here. You are the experiencer, the navigator, the witness. Think of this like your own Bandersnatch moment, a forked tale. But instead of pixels and timelines, you are weaving through your own consciousness. Are you ready? Then take a breath. Choose the story. And let's begin. Path 1, you are the Instagram sage. You are 27. You wake up and your first instinct isn't to stretch or breathe, rather to check the number of likes on last night's story. You have uploaded a reel about your morning meditation ritual which you haven't practiced in 3 weeks, but the lighting was good, and the hashtags were on point. 35, your phone lights up. A brand wants to collaborate. You smile. You open your calendar. Another Zoom session on how to stay mindful in the age of chaos. You scroll while brushing your teeth. You record another voiceover while sipping matcha. People think you're enlightened. But you haven't had a moment of silence in months. The pleasure molecule drip is gentle but constant. It's not a high. It's a tether. You post. You refresh. You scroll. You compare. You teach. You crumble. On the surface, you're calm. Deep down, your soul is cluttered. Do you want to continue as the sage? Or switch to the monk? Turn to the monk's path if you're tired of the feed. Path 2, you are the TikTok monk. You are 22. You live in a studio apartment. You haven't spoken to a real person today. But your latest TikTok on 3 ways to become spiritually powerful in 30 seconds just hit 90K views. Your saffron robe is synthetic. The chanting bell is a Spotify loop. But the wisdom, well, some of it is real. You did read a few scriptures, watched podcasts, and learned the lingo, karma, prana, non-duality. And people love you. They call you master. They ask about their soulmate, their Saturn return, their third eye. You Google the answers. Package it. Filter it. Serve it. But there's one problem. You're lonely. You forgot what silence feels like. You don't know what authenticity means anymore. Every post is a pose. Every teaching, a trend. 36, and yet, you can't stop. If you wish to continue numbing, scroll down. If you want to unplug and remember who you were before the content, switch stories. Path 3, the mirror cracks. Whether you chose the sage or the monk, eventually, the illusion begins to crack. One night, the Wi-Fi goes down. You're alone with your thoughts. You look in the mirror. And you can't recognize yourself anymore. Not your face. That's still there, filtered, moisturized, practiced. But your essence. Where did the joy go? When did silence become awkward? Why does your chest feel heavy? This isn't burnout. It's spiritual vertigo, also known as the dizziness of disconnect. Here's where science and spirituality converge. When your mind is constantly jumping between apps, faces, and filters, the brain develops a fractured attention schema. You are here and not here. You are everyone and no one. You become a ghost in your own body. Neuroscientists call this attentional residue. Every unfinished scroll, every half-read notification, leaves a cognitive trace. You never fully arrive anywhere. And your soul feels it? Pause here. Do not scroll. Just breathe. For 10 seconds. Welcome back. Now let's explore why this happened. The biology of illusion. 37 Dopamine isn't a bad chemical. It's a messenger of novelty and reward. But when hijacked by algorithms, it creates a loop of empty craving. The anticipation becomes the reward. You post not to share, but to feel. Over time, this hijacks your sense of meaning. Spiritual teachings become content. Personal growth becomes personal branding. Satora becomes SEO. And worse, your nervous system never rests. The sympathetic mode, fight or flight, stays activated. Even your meditations become performative. You sit in stillness, wondering what others will think. You are no longer a being. You are a broadcast. A game for the inner child. Let's change the energy. Here's a game. Meet your offline self. 1. Turn off all devices for 1 hour. 2. Sit with a blank notebook. No agenda. 3. Write a letter to yourself, your 12-year-old self. Describe who you've become. 4. Now flip the script. Write a letter from your 12-year-old self to the present you. What would they say? You'll be surprised. They might ask, why don't we draw anymore? Why do we care what strangers think? What happened to the stars? 38 This inner child isn't nostalgic. It's intuitive. And it's still alive. The sage and monk meet in the forest. Let's fast forward. You've walked both paths. You've burned out. You've awakened. You've unplugged. You go for a walk. No earbuds. Just wind and birds. You meet someone on the trail. It's you. But different. Older. Wiser. Unbothered. They ask you, who are you without your followers? What would you do if no one was watching? Are you the message or the medium? And for the first time, you answer without hesitation. You are not the algorithm. You are not the avatar. You are the awareness behind it all. That is liberation. Final choice, what happens next? Option A, you delete your accounts. You go silent for 30 days. You rediscover your voice in nature, solitude, and dreams. You begin to write, not for likes, but for healing. Option B, you keep your accounts. But now, you post less. With truth. With presence. You meditate before you post. You remember that every word is a seed. 39 Option C, you build a third way. A digital hermitage. A conscious presence online. You teach your audience about attention. You don't sell products. You sell presence. Choose. The story unfolds differently depending on your truth. Epilogue, a secret scroll from an ancient text in the Upanishads. There's a line, the self cannot be known through study or by intellect or by hearing it from others. It is known only by one who longs for it with all their heart. You don't need to renounce Instagram or TikTok. But you must reclaim your longing. For stillness. For truth. For yourself. So, who will you be tomorrow, the sage, the monk, or the witness? You decide. Chapter 8, Control plus Z for the Soul, Rewriting Digital Karma. Prologue, an encrypted diary found in the cloud. Date, unknown. Device, unknown. Location, a forgotten server farm in Iceland. The journal opens with a question, scrawled in a pixelated font, can the soul be debugged? 40 You don't know who wrote it. You don't know why it was stored. But you know this much, it feels personal. Too personal. Inside, the diary contains 9 strange entries and each ending with a riddle, a memory fragment, or a broken hyperlink. Your mission, reader, is simple: reconstruct the life of its mysterious author. Decode their digital karma. And in the process, confront your own. Welcome to the mystery. Entry 1, the first forgetting. I remember the sound of my mother's voice, but only when Siri mispronounces my name. Clue, check the timestamp on the first voice memo. Clue A, 3:33 a.m. Date, March 3, 2033. The pattern is not random. It's a memory loop. A glitch in emotional recall. Neuroscientists call this temporal compression. Our brains no longer store time the way they used to. Chronological memory has been replaced by notification-based memory. When was the last time you remembered something because it mattered and not because your phone reminded you? Challenge: find the 3 emotional events you recall from the last month without checking your photos or chats. Write them down. Now ask, were they real, or documented? Entry 2, echoes in screenshots. 41. I once kept 173 screenshots of motivational quotes. I read none. Clue, screenshot number 89 contains a QR code. You scan it. It opens a black screen that says, a screenshot is the graveyard of good intentions. Psychologists refer to this as motivational hoarding, where you collect inspiration but don't act on it. In Vedic philosophy, this is known as vikalpa, a fantasy of action, detached from movement. A mind addicted to potential, but paralyzed in practice. Many puzzle, match the quote to its origin. 1. Do not try to become. Simply be. 2. The eye sees only what the mind is ready to comprehend. 3. When the mind is empty, the universe downloads. Hint: only one of these was actually said by a real sage. Others AI generated. Entry 3, caught in the scroll. I entered Instagram to post about my pilgrimage. I never left. Clue, the GPS log shows temple coordinates in Varanasi, but the last geotag is Starbucks, Delhi Airport. This is not just forgetfulness. It's attention hijack. The sacred becomes scrollable. MIT's Digital Culture Lab found that modern users experience a spiritual dissonance loop, intending to seek truth but ending in consumption. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna warns Arjuna, even the wise are confounded when their minds are stolen by sense objects. 42. Today, the sense object is the feed. And you are Arjuna with ADHD. Mystery step: write down your last 5 search terms. What were you truly seeking? Entry 4, hijacked by headlines. I used to believe breaking news. Now, I don't believe my own thoughts. Clue, one tab shows a headline from a fake news site. Another tab contains a deleted tweet. Cross-reference the two. Cognitive neuroscience shows that information fatigue creates epistemic erosion, which is the inability to trust one's own judgment. Ancient yogic scriptures warned, a scattered mind cannot know truth. Your digital karma isn't just what you consume. It's how much trust you erode. Checkpoint: close your eyes. Recall one belief you held strongly 5 years ago. Has it changed? Why? Can you trace the influencer behind that shift? Entry 5, karma in followers. I have 23,491 followers. But I feel more invisible than ever. Clue, a voice note ends with a whisper, do you know who you really are, when no one is looking? This is the paradox of the selfie age. You are visible but unseen. Heard but not known. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear in society. But when amplified digitally, the persona becomes a prison. 43. Spiritual law: you attract what you broadcast. But if your broadcast is filtered, your tribe will be false. Deep mystery step: write a private post. Do not publish it. Just describe what hurts you right now. Now reread it as if it were written by someone else. What would you say to them? That voice is your soul. Entry 6, archived smells of memory. I used to remember my grandmother's cooking by smell. Now I Google recipes that taste nothing like home. Clue: a forgotten Dropbox folder contains audio files titled nanny.mp3 and achar.wave. This isn't nostalgia. It's cognitive diaspora, when memory is outsourced, identity fragments. Studies show that olfactory memory is the most emotionally potent. Yet we no longer trust our senses. We trust reviews, ratings, recipes. In Ramayana, Hanuman remembers his strength only when reminded. Your forgotten memories are not gone. They're buried under noise. Action challenge: cook something without a recipe. Only by memory. Then eat in silence. No distractions. Your taste buds might remember who you are. Entry 7, red dot rituals. I was about to meditate. Then I saw the red dot. Clue: screenshot of a meditation app, with 37 unread messages. 44 In biology, dopaminergic traps refer to environments engineered to trigger impulsive behavior. Your phone is one such trap. Buddhist psychology warns of the six sense gates. When unguarded, they leak life force. The red dot is your sixth gate demon. The six sense gates: your attention security breach. Imagine your consciousness as an exclusive club. These six gates are where your bouncers keep falling asleep on the job. Eyes, the original doom scrollers. Before apps stole your attention, Windows and sunsets did. Now your retinas are just unpaid employees of the algorithm, scanning for the next hit of visual cocaine. Ears, evolution's notification system. Once tuned to detect predators, now they're hacked to perk up at the slightest ping. That text message sound creates more salivation than Pavlov's bell ever managed. Nose, the nostalgia gateway. One whiff of cinnamon and suddenly you're 7 years old again. While Meta tries to make VR smell-o-vision, your nose has been teleporting you across time and space since birth. Tongue, the original pleasure molecule dealer. Putin never had to practice mindfulness against Dorito engineers with PhDs in craveability. Your taste buds aren't discerning, but they're being catfished by lab-designed flavor profiles. Touch, the forgotten interface. Before we had touch screens, we had actual touch. Now we swipe right on potential mates with the same finger motion used to order tacos. The ultimate sensory demotion. Mind, the sixth gate demon. That red notification dot isn't just a visual cue but a mental itch your prefrontal cortex can't scratch. While ancient monks guarded this gate with meditation, you've installed a revolving door with an always open sign. Buddhism called them leaky gates. Silicon Valley calls them engagement metrics. Same battle, different millennium. 45 Puzzle: for the next 2 hours, silence notifications. Do one task with full presence. Observe how many times your fingers try to unlock the phone. Count them. That number equals your spiritual deficit. Entry 8, meditations in undo. I tried to delete my past, but it kept reappearing in my dreams. Clue: an encrypted file titled me_backup_final2_real_thyzone.zip. You extract it. You find a PDF journal. Photos of someone crying in a metro. A voice memo that just says, "Please forgive me." Digital karma is real. Every action, even online, creates an imprint in your psyche. In yogic science, this is called samskara, i.e. latent impressions. Even deleted texts echo in the unconscious. Even muted chats leak emotion. Ritual: find one conversation you regret. Write an unsent apology. Forgive them. Forgive yourself. This is Control plus Z for the soul. Entry 9, awakening the observer. I thought I needed a digital detox. What I needed was a digital dharma. 46 I once told my cab driver I was on a digital fast. He thought it was a new diet app. Clue: final file name, manuscript_awakening2025.docs. You open it. It contains just one sentence, live online as if your future self is watching. Karma isn't punishment. It's pattern. If you want different results, write different code. In quantum mechanics, they say, the observer affects the observed. In Vedanta, they say, you are that. In both, the message is clear: consciousness programs reality. So what are you feeding it? Final puzzle: who was the author? Clue: every first letter of the 9 entries spells something. Go back. Read again. Piece it together. What does it reveal? And more importantly, was it really someone else's diary? Or was it yours all along? CTA, begin your digital Dharma 1. Create a soul folder on your device. Do place one real memory in it every week: a voice note, a drawing, a poem, an apology. 3. No edits. No filters. Just presence. 47. This is not nostalgia. It's reclamation. You can't undo everything. But you can start writing consciously. Welcome to your reboot. Chapter 9, 404, Meaning Not Found. Prologue: a glitch in the narrative. You're reading this chapter, but something feels off. The title, the spacing, the way your eyes move across the text. You notice a pattern, but can't name it. That's how meaning disappears. Not in chaos, but in subtle distortion. 48. And your mission in this chapter is clear: decode the hidden message. Reclaim your attention. Solve the riddle that your own life has become. Scene 1, the inbox that ate my brain. You wake up. The first thing you do is tap your email. There are 73 unread messages. You don't read them. You just scroll, like a ritual. Clue: 1 email subject line reads, "Forgot why you started." It's from a sender you don't recognize. No attachments. Just a line of code: AG93 at Googlesburg 93 ILDS 3 XJLX 3Q/. You recognize it to be BASE64 encryption. You decode it. It says, "How will they know you were lost?" The line sticks with you. It feels like it came from a version of you that still remembers why you started down this road. Before the hustle, the noise, the likes, the distractions. Now, you feel like a user in a program without a user manual. But something about this message unsettles you. You realize this isn't your first time seeing it. The sender isn't unknown. The name, Echo, triggers a memory from years ago. A journal entry maybe? A dream? Scene 2, the library of deleted thoughts. You walk into a space that doesn't exist physically because it's imagined. 49. A vast, infinite library, but the books have no titles. You pull one off the shelf. Pages are blank. Except for the middle page. A handwritten riddle: you had the answer before you had the question. But then you ask Google. Your memory has been reverse engineered. You don't retrieve knowledge anymore. You fetch it. The hippocampus, which is the brain's memory center, now waits for Wi-Fi. You notice a corner of the page folded. There's a cipher written in what appears to be an ancient script. Underneath it, a note: to decode this, align the stars with your screen. You look up. The ceiling of the library isn't a roof. It's the galaxy. The constellations begin to shift. They form characters. Letters. A sentence: all lost meaning hides in plain sight. You suddenly remember a book you loved as a child. It was filled with secret messages. But as an adult, you stopped looking for secrets. Because everything is searchable. And nothing searched: surprises. Scene 3, meaning lost in the feed. You log into your favorite platform, let's say Instagram. You see a quote post: don't chase meaning. Create it. It has 2.1 million likes. But in your gut, it feels empty. 50. Why? Because the quote means nothing unless lived. You scroll. Another post. Another quote. Another call to awaken, to rise, to grind, to love, to manifest. You stop. Challenge: screenshot your last 3 quote posts. Now rate them. Did you act on them? Did you reflect on them? Or did you just like? Meaning isn't viral. Meaning is viral resistance. And then you see it, a post that looks like a glitch. It's just binary code. It reads 0100110010010111111. Translation: do you realize you are already who you were? A jolt runs through your spine. Because maybe, this isn't about becoming anything. It's about remembering. Scene 4, The Myth of Sisyphus.exe. You read the Greek myth of Sisyphus, the man condemned to push a boulder up a hill for eternity. 51. Today, your boulder is your phone. Your hill is the algorithm. Each time you feel progress, insight, awareness, presence, you get distracted. Back to zero. Back to feed. The new tech Sisyphus isn't in hell. He's in bed, with 13 tabs open. A hidden line of text in your favorite app's terms of service reveals a joke: scroll and ye shall never find. Albert Camus once said, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. But what if Sisyphus had real addiction and a TikTok account? Would he still push the boulder? Would he even realize he was in a loop? You check your screen time today. 7 hours and 11 minutes. Mostly social. Is that your boulder? Or your burden? Scene 5, Breadcrumbs of the soul. You know what nostalgia smells like. Slightly burnt toast, fresh library books, and your cousin's off-brand glue stick. Let's go back. Back to when Sunday mornings meant cartoons that didn't ask for subscriptions, and the only notification you got was your mom yelling your full name from the kitchen. Back to when your world was ruled by pencil boxes, Hot Wheels, and that one classmate who always had the scented erasers and mysterious stationery from abroad. Remember the sound of flipping pages in a library? That reverent hush, as if the stories themselves were listening. There was a sacred thrill in finding a book with your name already written in the borrowing log, proof that your past self had good taste. 52. And coffee? It wasn't artisanal, sustainably sourced, or poured with aesthetic foam. It was stolen sips from your dad's cup while pretending to be an adult. Gritty, bold, and slightly forbidden. These were the breadcrumbs your soul dropped before it learned about hashtags, filters, and productivity hacks. Before A was a marketing KPI. Before your curiosity got cured. Now. You're here. Still you. Still that kid who once imagined books could breathe and that every library corner might contain a portal. So no clues in this scene. No riddles. Just this gentle nudge: you haven't lost the way. You've just stopped sniffing for the paper trail. Welcome back to the scent of stories. Scene 6, enter the labyrinth. This isn't a maze made of hedges or haunted hallways. It's subtler than that. It's the kind of labyrinth you don't even know you're in until years have passed and your memories feel outsourced. You're not being chased. Not by a monster, at least. You're being nudged. Gently. Repeatedly. By pings, by nudges, by you might like this. And maybe you do like it? Until you realize you don't know what you like anymore without being told. You scroll through a feed that feels more familiar than your own thoughts. It knows you. Your dreams. Your moods. Your cravings at 2 a.m. It knows that when you're lonely, you search for songs to cry to, and when you're hopeful, you Google how to start over, again. 53. It remembers the night you deleted your ex's photos but kept one hidden in a WhatsApp folder named miscellaneous. It knows that you lingered on that reel of someone laughing with their grandparents because you remembered yours, and how their voice has faded from your mental playback. Every click you've made, every hesitation before clicking, has been a thread. Not a trap. Not quite. A trail. A digital breadcrumb trail back to, what? Back to the center. You arrive at what looks like the end of the maze. There's no door. Just a mirror. But when you look, there's no reflection, only a glowing QR code pulsing softly. Like it's breathing. You scan it. It loads slowly. Painfully. Like a memory you almost forgot. And then, a message appears, meaning is not found. Meaning is decoded. Suddenly, you see it. Not with your eyes but with your gut. Every distraction, every tab, every search, every lost hour wasn't just wasted data. It was code. Yours. A messy, beautiful script written not to imprison you, but to wake you up. Another string of encoded text flashes, Vigla oily 29 spzib 5b3 vyig 1 lbcaxm gux spib 0 agug book wig 91 spzib 5b3 vyand cock 4 equals you decode it. It reads, the record of your mind is also the map out of your soul. You were never truly lost. Just, surrounded by a maze pretending to be comfort. And now that you see the code, you get to choose, not escape, but exit. On your terms. Welcome to the center of the maze. Welcome to the part where remembering becomes power. 54 Call to Action, Digital Cipher Challenge 1. Write a secret message to your future self. Encode it using any cipher, EASE64, Morse, anagram. 2. Set a reminder to decode it 6 months from now. 3. In the meantime, live in a way that makes the message obsolete. If your life becomes clear enough, you won't need to decode it. You will be the message. Welcome to the age of meaning. Not found, but forged. Chapter 10, Echoes in the Hall of Mirrors. Prologue, the reflection you forgot to meet. Do you remember your first password? 55. Not the one stored in your password manager, but the one you whispered to yourself when no one was watching, when you were still whole. Maybe it was a dream. A drawing. A secret desire. A name you gave to something real that never needed Wi-Fi to exist. In this chapter, we're going deeper. Into the echo chamber of the self. Into the subconscious backdoors we left open through convenience. Into the mirrors we now scroll instead of reflect. What happens when you stare into a screen too long? What part of you begins to look back? Scene 1, the mind as a mansion, but we lost the key. Imagine your mind as an ancient palace which is filled with rooms of memory, creativity, fears, and dreams. 8,000 doors. Each one connected to a past version of you. But slowly, we outsourced the architecture. Phone numbers once memorized are now stored in silicon. Childhood memories are being replaced by filtered nostalgia. Inner monologue is now echoed by influencers. Where does your mind end, and the algorithm begin? Carl Jung called the human mind a collective unconscious, a vast network of symbols, archetypes, and shadow selves. Today, our symbols are emojis. Our archetypes are influencers. And our shadows? They live in our incognito tabs. Scene 2, NLP, not the programming you think. 56. You've probably heard of NLP, neurolinguistic programming. In psychology, it's a method of rewiring your brain through language and behavior. But now, NLP is also natural language processing, the way machines understand human speech. Funny, isn't it? Machines learning to speak human, while humans forgetting how to speak humanly. Prompt: think of the last 5 texts you sent. Were they automatic? Emotionally rich? Copy-pasted memes? Now rewrite them. Make each one a full sentence. With a feeling. Feel that? That's what we used to call communication. Scene 3, Freud versus Facebook. Freud built his theories on dreams, repression, and subconscious desire. Facebook built its fortune on attention, repetition, and targeted desire. Both study human behavior. But one asked, why do we suffer? The other asks, how do we make them click? And yet, you can't escape either. Your scrolling is a form of dream analysis. Only the dreams aren't yours. They've been injected by sponsored ads and short-form videos. They've been curated by AI systems more interested in your reaction than your reflection. Why can't I stop scrolling at night? A. Because your brain's reward system is being looped. Each scroll releases a small 57 dose of that pleasure rush, the same neurochemical that gets triggered in gambling. Q. What's the solution? A. Pause. Then name what you're seeking. Entertainment. Connection. Escape. Naming disarms compulsion. Scene 4, the Bhagavad Gita meets Instagram. In the Gita, Arjuna stands on the battlefield, paralyzed by indecision. Today, you stand paralyzed between 2 stories, the one you live, and the one you post. Krishna told Arjuna, you have a right to your actions, not to your results. But our feed culture reverses this, you're judged only by your results. Views. Followers. Reach. Reflective exercise: post something online without checking engagement for 3 days. Notice your discomfort. That's your digital ego detoxing. Scene 5, the mirror maze. You enter a hall of mirrors. Each mirror shows a different version of you. 58. Mirror A, your curated online self. Mirror B, your inner child. Mirror C, your feared self. Mirror D, your higher self. Which one do you trust? Which one is lying? Which one have you never really met? Choose a mirror to walk toward. If you chose A, you reach out to touch it, and it glitches. The smile is forced. The eyes don't blink. This version knows how to pose, but not how to pause. If you chose B, you hear a whisper. Remember when trees felt taller? You laugh. Then cry. Then laugh again. If you chose C, the mirror darkens. But your silhouette grows stronger. The fear of being that person? It's also your fuel for change. If you chose D, this mirror doesn't reflect light. It reflects intention. Now ask, which mirror do you feed daily? Scene 6, ancient systems knew this already in yogic texts. The mind is called manas, the intellect buddhi, the ego ahamkara. Modern neuroscience maps this to manas, sensory processing buddhi, prefrontal cortex ahamkara, default mode network thousands of years apart. Same mind. Same confusion. Now ask, if ancient rishis could master stillness under banyan trees, why can't we sit still for 10 minutes without grabbing our phones? 59. Because stillness is now an act of rebellion. Try this: turn off all notifications. Set a timer for 11 minutes. Just observe your breath. Write down what surfaced. No filter. Just truth. Scene 7, Cognitive Dissonance. As a lifestyle you believe you value presence. Yet you binge watch presence tutorials. You believe in health. Yet doom scroll while eating. This is the mind in conflict. This is cognitive dissonance. And our generation wears it like cologne. List 3 things you say you care about. Now list your last 5 actions. Do they align? If not, you're not broken. You're just unintegrated. But the mirror is available. You can step in. You can update the story. Scene 8, Dream logs and neural rewrites. Your dreams are your brain's way of defragging reality. But when was the last time you remembered a dream? What if your feed has replaced your subconscious imagery? Exercise, dream log tonight, before bed, write, I will remember a dream. 60. Leave a notebook next to your pillow. Log the fragments. Now cross-reference, what in your feed could have inspired that? You may find a meme from 4 days ago, a news story, a fear you didn't process. The dream is your final inbox. Pay attention. Chapter Reflection, who is the mirror for? The ancient myth of Narcissus wasn't about vanity. It was about mistaking the reflection for the source. You aren't your profile. You aren't your aesthetic. You're the one watching the reflection tremble. Final question, if your life was a book, and the mirror your final page, would the story make sense? Would you recognize the author? Call to action, the mirror ritual tonight. Turn your phone off. Sit with an actual mirror. Ask yourself, out loud: 1. What am I avoiding? 2. What do I still remember? 3. What do I want to become? 61. Write the answers. Seal them in an envelope. Set a calendar reminder for 3 months from today. No apps. No pings. Just truth. Because in the end, you won't remember your feed. You'll remember how deeply you met yourself. Welcome back, Mirror Walker. Chapter 11, The City of Never. When it is not the future that haunts us most. It is the past we never fully lived. 62. Arrival, where scrolls replace steps. The traveler arrived in Neverwhen at twilight, even though there was no sun to set. The city had no sky. Just a dome of soft blue glow, like a screen turned down to 3% brightness. Time here didn't pass. It refreshed. He stepped onto a pavement made of touch screens, each slab pulsing faintly with swipes of previous visitors. Every footstep triggered echoes with notifications from people long gone. Ding. You have 3 new regrets. Welcome to Neverwhen. Where memories are monetized, silence is outlawed, and identity is a subscription. At the city gate stood a robotic guide named Proxy. Shaped like a faceless mannequin with glowing veins of data, Proxy welcomed him. Welcome, user. Your memories are outdated. Please upload your nostalgia for access. The traveler declined. Not out of rebellion but out of confusion. But Proxy tilted its head and smirked. If robots could smirk, then you may enter as a guest. But beware, guests often forget why they came. To the Memory Bazaar. 63. Past the gates was the Memory Bazaar, a neon-lit marketplace filled with holographic stalls. Merchants sold emotions in vials, filtered experiences in zip files, and memories snipped and sanitized like digital NFTs. A woman offered him a jar labeled First Kiss with less anxiety. Another promised Birthday 7 but without the yelling. He wandered deeper. At the center stood a stall with no name. An old man with wires for hair sat behind a rusted desk. What are you looking to forget, traveler? Nothing, he replied. The man frowned. Strange. Most come here to delete themselves in pieces. As the traveler turned to leave, he noticed something in his hand, a photo he didn't remember taking. A younger version of himself, eyes full of wonder, holding a paper map. Where had he lost this version? 3. The Echo Bureau. Down a back alley, beyond the bazaar, loomed a tower wrapped in cables. It hummed softly, like an AI dreaming in its sleep. This was the Echo Bureau. Inside, screens covered the walls. Each screen displayed conversations like the kind people believed were private. I'm fine. Just tired. Let's hang out sometime. Never happened. I think I still love you. The Echo agents wore noise-canceling headsets and typed furiously. They weren't creating content. They were recording unconscious confessionals, the data people leaked in silence, Google searches at 2 a.m., song replays, TikTok rabbit holes. 64. A tall woman with chrome eyes approached the traveler. You've been here before. I haven't. Not in body. But your data has. She handed him a file labeled self.7z. Password protected. What's the password? He asked. Only your forgotten self would know. For the pause police outside the bureau, a siren blared. The pause police. They patrolled the city, scanning for anyone standing still too long. In Neverwhen, pausing was rebellion. A boy was dragged away from a quiet bench, screaming, I was just thinking. One officer barked, thinking without prompt is unsafe. The traveler kept walking. Fast. He tried to remember what it felt like to pause in peace. To stare at clouds. To write a thought in a notebook, not a notes app. He felt a tremor in his chest. Was it fear? No. It was yearning. Be the temple of offline. A map appeared on the traveler's arm, projected by proxy. Anomaly detected. Unscanned zone, temple of offline. 65. He followed the directions through a dead zone with no signals, no lights. Just silence thick enough to touch. The temple was ancient, built from old server racks and stone tablets. Vines had grown around motherboards. In the center sat a monk wrapped in Ethernet cables like prayer beads. Why are you here? The monk asked. I don't know anymore. The monk laughed. Not mockingly. With recognition. Good. That means you're finally remembering. He guided the traveler to a room filled with mirrors. But they reflected not the face, but the mind. Each mirror showed his attention span off course, fractured, his empathy buffering, his self-worth frozen. Can I fix it? You can integrate it. But only if you disconnect first. 6. The archive oracle proxy reappeared, glitching. You've entered too deep. You must consult the archive oracle. At the edge of the city stood a cathedral made of glass routers and satellite dishes. Inside, a giant orb floated mid-air which was coated with every human thought logged by the cloud. The oracle spoke in binary, but the traveler heard it in feelings. You have scrolled so much you think it's movement. But you've never left. 66. You have posted so much you think it's expression. But you've never spoken. You have captured every moment. And forgotten how to live one. The orb dimmed. One line hovered in front of him, to remember, first uninstall the performance. 7. The inner child. As he exited the oracle, he noticed someone following him. A small child, barefoot, silent. Eyes wide. The traveler turned. Who are you? The child shrugged. Handed him a drawing, a tree. A bicycle. A face, smiling. His face. Simpler. The traveler dropped to his knees. I remember you now. The child nodded. Then maybe we can go home. 8. Epilogue. The log outdoor. The city blurred. The screens cracked. The notifications silenced. 67. Proxy returned, dimmer now. You may exit. But be warned, you'll forget this place unless you write it down. He asked softly, why? Because Neverwhen only lives in those willing to remember their forgetting. The traveler stepped through the log outdoor. A burst of cold air. Real air. He opened his eyes. In his hand, a notebook. Blank. He began to write, I went to a place where the future was a scroll, and the past was for sale. But I found something no algorithm can sell, a moment. One breath. One pause. One self. Chapter 12, Inbox 0, Mindful 68. You empty your inbox. But who empties you? Introduction, the seduction of sordid chaos. There is a kind of silent pride in staring at an empty inbox. A digital desert, zero notifications, no unread messages. Clean. Controlled. Conquered. And yet, beneath that neatly managed silence, there lies an echo, a whisper of all the things left undone, unthought, unfelt. The inbox might be zero, but the mind is anything but. It's full. Fractured. Fragmented. This chapter isn't about productivity hacks. It's about understanding why productivity became our god, how we confused order for peace, and why the quest to control time might be what's destroying it. Let's go deeper. To the time thief, a day in a lunar loop. Sahana, a 28-year-old brand strategist, kept her day color-coded in Google Calendar. From 6 a.m. yoga to 10:30 p.m. journaling. A digital shrine to discipline. She swore by the Pomodoro technique, her task manager, her habit tracking ring. But still, she felt tired. Not just physically. Spiritually. One day, her 84-year-old grandmother watched her shuffle tasks and deadlines on her iPad and asked, "Is this what you call living?" At first, Sahana laughed it off. But that night, sleep refused to visit. Her grandmother's words echoed louder than Slack pings. That weekend, she visited an Ayurvedic retreat in the Western Ghats. There, she learned about Chandrakala, the idea that time isn't linear but lunar. Cyclical. That the human body, especially the female body, follows the rhythms of the moon. 69. Her productivity wasn't failing. Her perception of time was. We are not clocks. We are tides. 3. Technology's shadow puppets, hijacking the human clock. In the 1950s, psychologists ran sleep studies in underground bunkers. Subjects with no external time cues, no sun, no clocks, began creating their own rhythms. Their natural days stretched beyond 24 hours and even some to 25, others to 30. Humans, left alone, are not mechanical. They are mythical. Yet now, our lives are shaped by the tyranny of scheduled pings, reminders, and optimized morning routines. Our natural rhythms have been algorithmically colonized. Each unread badge becomes a guilt icon. Each scroll a sedative. We are caught in what philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls the burnout society. Not because we're doing too much, but because we're doing too many things against our nature. For the ancient mind, Vedic routines and galactic rhythms. The ancient seers of India didn't write productivity books, but they mapped time with stunning elegance. They believed in 3 key divisions of the day: Brahma Muhurta, pre-dawn time for spiritual and intellectual activities; Karma Kala, morning to midday time for work and action; Ratri, night time for rest and digestion, both food and thought. 70. This wasn't superstition. Modern chronobiology confirms it. Cortisol levels spike before dawn, wakefulness, melatonin drops, body temperature rises. Ayurveda just knew it, without a lab. The problem isn't that we're unproductive. It's that we're misaligned. We follow email cycles, not earth cycles. We orbit inboxes, not moons. Be the mind as a browser, tabs, time blocks, and attention debt. Imagine your mind is a browser. Each thought equals a tab. Each goal equals a pin tab. Each notification equals a pop-up. And like Chrome on a dying battery, you start lagging. Here's the truth: multitasking is not efficiency. It's fragmentation. Dr. Clifford Nass at Stanford proved that high multitaskers are actually worse at filtering irrelevant information. Their memory weakens. They become distracted not just by external cues, but by their own thoughts. Sahana returned from the retreat and tried something radical. She began planning her day based on moon phases. She used time blocks not for tasks, but for mind states. Full moon expression, meetings, presentations, waning moon review, reflect, edit, new moon vision, planning, silence. She called it her lunar inbox. It didn't reduce her emails, but it realigned her energy with intention. 71.6. Illustration interlude. The two circles. Draw two circles side by side. Circle A, empty inbox, chaotic mind. Circle B, overflowing inbox, serene mind. Which would you prefer? The answer isn't obvious. That's the trap. Most choose A. But here's the secret: serenity isn't created by clearing data. It's created by clearing attachment. Inbox zero is a mirage. The goal isn't to respond to everything. It's to remember who you are without responding. 7. Why we fear silence. Silence used to be sacred. Now, it's awkward. Open an elevator app. No signal. What do you do? Open Instagram. Sit at a cafe. Friend is late. What do you do? Check email. We are addicted not to content, but to the act of checking. This is the feedback loop that social platforms weaponize. The variable reward system, a like, a new message, a comment, mimics the mechanics of slot machines. Inbox zero becomes a kind of ritual gambling. We refresh, hoping to win validation. But the more we check, the more we fragment the self. 8. Mindful, the art of sacred time blocking. 72. Let's reclaim the calendar. Not as a tool of capitalism, but as a canvas for consciousness. Try this exercise: 1. Label each hour of your day not by tasks, but by emotional intention. 8. 9 a.m., nourish. 9:12 p.m., create. 12:1 p.m., pause. 1:4 p.m., collaborate. 4:6 p.m., reflect. 6:8 p.m., connect. 8:10 p.m., empty. 2. Use color theory to code your hours. Blue equals calm, writing, deep work. Green equals growth, learning. Red equals alert, calls, decisions. Purple equals inner, meditation, journaling. 3. During lunar transitions, new moon, full moon, block off a sacred slot, non-negotiable solitude. No agenda. Just listening. This isn't productivity. This is presence engineering. 9. The inbox is a mirror, psychological projection. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist, persists. What you deny, controls you." Nowhere is this truer than the inbox. The unread messages you avoid? They're usually tied to deeper anxieties: the job you haven't replied to, fear of failure, the ex who emailed, fear of closure, the health checkup reminder, fear of mortality. Our inboxes reflect our emotional fragmentation. 73. Try this: before you check your inbox, sit for 2 minutes. Ask, what emotion am I bringing to this space? Are you reacting? Or responding? Are you chasing validation? Or offering value? Your answer determines whether your mind remains full or becomes whole. X. The temple of time, symbolic annotation. Imagine time not as hours, but as living beings. Shuni, Saturn, equals delay, patience. Karmic time. Chandra, moon, equals mood, memory. Mind. Surya, sun, equals will, clarity, action. In Vedic cosmology, these aren't metaphors. They are psychological archetypes. Modern neuroscience aligns: moon hippocampus, memory cycles; sun prefrontal cortex, decision-making; Saturn limbic system, long-term consequences. Planning your day becomes an act of inner worship. You're not organizing tasks. You're harmonizing with your cosmic self. Time blocking isn't about squeezing productivity. It's about aligning your biology with the astronomy of awareness. 11. The final realization: There is no inbox in the end. Sahana deleted her task manager. She unsubscribed from half her newsletters. She switched her calendar to lunar phases. But most importantly, she forgave herself for not responding to everything. 74 She realized the inbox was never a container for messages. It was a metaphor for the self, a place where expectations, projections, and anxieties gathered. To be free, she didn't need to reply. She needed to return. To the breath. To the body. To the now. Inbox zero isn't the goal. Mind full. Heart whole. That's the new success metric. 75 Chapter 13, The Kingdom of Sleep. We are such stuff / as dreams are made on, and our little life / is rounded with asleep. William Shakespeare, The Tempest I. The forgotten frontier in the empire of waking life, sleep is the exile. We treat it as downtime, dead space, a passive pit stop between achievements. But sleep, and here we talk about true, deep, undisturbed sleep, is not a pause, rather a pilgrimage. Every night, we cross the threshold into a hidden kingdom where language dissolves, logic unspools, and the ego falls silent. Here, in the land of REM and NREM, we visit our truest selves. And yet, in the 21st century, we have declared war on this kingdom. We call ourselves hustlers, early risers, productivity machines. We sacrifice sleep like burnt offerings to the gods of deadlines and anxiety. And we wonder why we're exhausted, spiritually and physically. This chapter is not just about sleep hygiene. It is about sleep as a soul ritual, a return to the mythic, the subconscious, the eternal. To night's natural architecture. The ancients knew that the night wasn't just for recovery, it was for revelation. In Egyptian belief, dreams were messages from the gods. In the Vedic tradition, they were one of the four states of consciousness: Jagrat, waking; Swapna, dreaming; Sushupti, deep sleep; and Turiya, pure consciousness. Modern science, centuries late, has caught up. 76 Stage 1 and 2, light sleep, gateway to the dream world. Stage 3, delta waves, physical restoration. REM, emotional regulation, memory integration, creative problem solving. The architecture of sleep mirrors the architecture of the soul. We descend, layer by layer, like Dante, into the inferno, not into suffering, but into truth. And yet 40% of adults are chronically sleep deprived. 3. The digital insomnia epidemic. Scroll. Swipe. Refresh. We lie in bed with screens glowing inches from our retinas, training our brains to fear silence. Blue light hijacks melatonin. Algorithms sync with our cortisol curves. The bedroom becomes a boardroom. Sleep, once a sacred descent into the underworld, is now delayed, denied, degraded. What hath night to do with sleep? John Milton, Paradise Lost. The poet was speaking of metaphorical awakening. But today, night is no longer a sacred veil. It's backlit and broadband. Sleep debt accumulates invisibly, like compound interest. And the price isn't just fatigue. It's mood swings, memory loss, hormonal imbalance, immunity suppression, creative depletion, spiritual dissociation. We are becoming nightless nomads, wandering but not resting. 77.4. Dreams, the original operating system. Before books, before language, before apps, there were dreams. In dreams, the brain does what no software can: replays trauma for reprocessing, cross-links distant memories for insight, simulates futures to test emotion, reinvents identity. Every night Carl Jung believed dreams were a communication between the conscious and unconscious mind. Shakespeare called sleep nature's soft nurse. And the Upanishads spoke of dreams as glimpses of the Atman, the soul. Lucid dreamers, Tibetan monks, and modern sleep researchers all agree, dreaming is not useless. It is the mind's native healing interface. Be the afterlife within sleep. There is a strange and sacred connection between death and deep sleep. In both, the ego dissolves. In both, time becomes nonlinear. In both, we cross into the unmeasured. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is said, when a man is asleep, reposing and at perfect rest so that he sees no dream, then he has entered into the self. To sleep well is to rehearse death, but not in fear. In faith. Many near-death experiences, NDEs, echo dream imagery, tunnels of light, floating above the body, nonverbal wisdom, timelessness. Perhaps this is not coincidence. Perhaps sleep is our nightly initiation into the eternal. 78.6. Insomnia as existential crisis. Not all sleep loss is physical. Much of it is psycho-spiritual. We lie awake not just from caffeine or screens, but from unprocessed grief, unsaid apologies, unlived lives. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within." Insomnia, then, becomes a form of spiritual misalignment, a symptom of emotional backlog. Our minds, like overfull inboxes, keep pinging us with unresolved fragments. We are haunted not by monsters, but by unfinished thoughts. 7. Reclaiming the sacred night. To restore sleep, we must restore reverence. A few practices: digital sunset, screens off 90 minutes before bed. Dream altar, keep a journal, light incense, prepare the mind. Moon sinking, track your mood and sleep with lunar phases. Sleep mantras, whisper ancient words like Shanta, Om. Memory clearing, write down 3 worries and 3 gratitudes before sleep. This is not routine. This is ritual. 8. Literary echoes of sleep's majesty. Macbeth, sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care. 79. Moby Dick, Ishmael seeks the ocean not for escape, but for the depth of sleep it offers. Proust, who wrote most of In Search of Lost Time in a half-waking state, mining memory like a dream archaeologist. Tagore, wrote of sleep as the great equalizer where kings and beggars are the same. Great minds did not dismiss sleep. They honored it as muse and mirror. 9. The lucid renaissance. Lucid dreaming is not new. But it is experiencing a rebirth. To become conscious within a dream is to become conscious within life. Practices: reality checks, ask am I dreaming, during the day. Dream journaling, record details each morning. Mnemonic induction, mild intent to remember I will realize I'm dreaming. The benefits go beyond fantasy, overcoming fears, creative breakthroughs, meeting archetypal guides, integrating the shadow. Lucid dreaming is not escape. It is engagement with the self. X. The Dream Commons. Imagine a world where we discuss dreams like we discuss Netflix shows. 80. What did you dream last night? I flew over a city and saw my childhood home. I met someone who looked like my future. This was normal in tribal cultures. The Iroquois believed dreams were social blueprints. Aboriginal Australians treated dreamtime as the creation of the world. But somewhere between spreadsheets and screen time, we stopped asking each other about dreams. Because dreams don't sell. They can't be monetized. There's no subscription model for wonder. And yet they persist. Silently. Like unclaimed mail from your soul. Dreams are not random firings of the sleeping brain. They are the nightly reboot of meaning. A place where the conscious ego shuts up long enough for truth to whisper. They're the sandbox where your subconscious runs barefoot, trying to tell you something before the calendar app boots back up. But we've learned to silence even that. Alarm clocks and notifications now interrupt REM cycles like rude guests bursting into the sacred. We override our sleep with late-night binging, blue light, and productivity shame. And the price? In 1986, the Challenger shuttle disaster investigation revealed that key NASA engineers had been sleep-deprived, working long shifts under pressure. The decision-making failure wasn't just technical, rather neurological. In 2001, a series of catastrophic hospital errors in New York were linked back to one common factor: doctors who hadn't slept properly in 30 hours. Sleep deprivation has been used as a form of torture. But now, we volunteer for it in the name of hustle, of ambition, of proving we're never off. We don't dream anymore. We debug. But dreams aren't bugs. They're backup files of the soul. 81. Maybe it's time to log off earlier. To wake up slower. To ask your partner, your friend, your child, did you dream last night? And maybe you'll begin to remember yours. Not because it's useful, but because it's you. 11. The return of the night. Let this be a manifesto, to honor darkness, not fear it. To sleep not just for energy but for enlightenment. To see every night as a threshold. Because what if the real work isn't done in the daytime? What if our soul's evolution happens while the ego sleeps? What if dreams are not escape, but arrival? Each night, when I go to sleep, I die. And the next morning, when I wake up, I am reborn. Mahatma Gandhi. Let us not just chase morning routines. Let us redeem the night. 82. Chapter 14. The neural revolution will not be televised. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. The revolution will not be televised. Gil Scott-Heron. Letter I, from neuron to narrative to future self from present self. Dear future me, if you're reading this, it means you've made it through another cycle of rewiring. Another loop where you chose intention over automation. Another day where you remembered, you're not a bot. You woke up in a world where algorithms know your cravings better than your friends do. You scrolled. You got pinged. You inhaled information. But at some point today, you paused. You remembered you were rewiring your brain not with AI scripts, but with sacred breath. You chose to meditate instead of medicate. You chose stillness over stimulation. You chose conscious neuroplasticity. They didn't teach us this in school, that our brain is like wet clay, always being shaped. They made us memorize and regurgitate, not realize and regenerate. But here we are, taking back the brush, painting new pathways. Just a note to remind you, you're not just thinking. You're sculpting. With neural love, present you. 83. Letter 2, the migraine memoirs to my neurologist from the girl with lightning behind her eyes. Dear doctor, thank you for the pills. They muted the migraines. But no one ever asked what the migraines were trying to say. You see, they started after my third promotion. After the third consecutive year of living in fluorescent light, skipping meals, and treating sleep like a luxury. My head became a war zone where my intuition and my ambition fought every afternoon. The throbbing wasn't just physical. It was metaphysical. My brain wasn't sick. It was screaming. I know now what triggered them: artificial light. Artificial deadlines. Artificial living. When I began neural yoga every morning, just 7 minutes of breath-linked movement and sacred geometry tracing with my hands, they began to fade. Not vanish, but whisper instead of roar. Doctor, thank you for your medicine. But the healing came when I stopped outsourcing my sovereignty. With embodied gratitude. Letter 3, APCO's prayer to the divine feminine from a woman in a hormonal storm. 84. Mother, why is my cycle out of sync? Why do I bleed in pain instead of power? They call it PCOS. Polycystic. Polysymptomatic. Polysilenced. My body, once a temple, turned into an algorithm of misfiring hormones. I tracked calories. I counted steps. I swallowed synthetic balance. But I felt more disoriented each month. My ovaries were not broken. They were offline. And then I remembered your design. The circle. The spiral. The moon. I began waking at dawn. I began grounding my feet on the earth. I tuned into lunar rhythm instead of productivity charts. I did womb meditations with rose quartz and Muladhara chants. Slowly, I returned to the sacred geometry of being a woman. I didn't cure PCOS. I unshamed it. And the healing began. Yours in devotion. Letter 4, Sacred Geometry and the 3 p.m. Crash to the CEO of my nervous system from the mid-afternoon mystic. Hey, every day around 3 p.m., I used to reach for coffee. or sugar, or instagram. Something to lift the fog, to keep the hustle going. But I know now, the 3 p.m. crash isn't a bug. It's a signal. So I replace the latte with a lotus. I draw the seed of life on paper. Or trace the flower of life with my fingers in air. I breathe in 6 counts. Hold for 3. Breathe out for 9. My brain, once looping in cortisol spirals, now loops in symmetry. 85 Sacred geometry isn't ancient woo. It's the original neural UX design. The universe built itself with phi, not fear. Thanks for finally listening. The conscious coder letter V, the meditation that rewired my default mode to, the one who feared stillness from, the one who sat anyway dearest, remember when silence made you squirm? When you equated stillness with stagnation. When you thought productivity was measured by motion. That was before you met Theta Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, you committed to 30 minutes of deep meditation. No timer. No tracking. Just a candle, a mantra, and a promise, to meet yourself. You thought you'd get bored. Instead, you got visions. You thought you'd waste time. Instead, time dissolved. Your default mode network, once addicted to chatter, began to hum a different frequency. Stillness is not empty. It's coded. With reverence, the inner engineer letter 6, the daily neural yoga menu 2, the curious hacker from, your future synapses welcome to your new morning stack. 86 Neural Yoga, 12 minutes a day 1. Breath spiral, 2 minutes, inhale up the spine, exhale down. Visualize a golden coil. 2 Mudra mapping, 2 minutes, Jun, wisdom, Shanai, patience, Prithvi, earth. Cycle these while breathing. 3 Sacred geometry flow, 4 minutes, trace circles, triangles, stars with slow hand gestures in the air. Engage both hemispheres. 4 Theta tune in, 2 minutes, binaural beats or low chanting to synchronize hemispheres. 5 Gratitude flash, 2 minutes, visualize one thing you love. See it. Feel it. Encode it. You don't need a biohacking lab. You need a ritual OS. Run this daily. Update as needed. Your brain letter 7, neural capitalism and the soul 2, the leaders of tomorrow from, a conscious resistor. Dear leaders, you're inheriting a world where attention is the new oil. Where these happy hormones are extracted like fossil fuel. Where every scroll, swipe, click, and ping is a form of labor for someone else's algorithm. But there's a rebellion rising. Not loud. Not viral. But vibrational. People are waking up from autoplay lives. They are logging out and looking in. They are realizing, 87 the most powerful algorithm is the human will. The most advanced network is a circle of breathers. The most sovereign act is to feel without fleeing. The neural revolution will not be televised. It will be breathed. Drawn. Sat through. Sung. Surrendered. Join us. Not to fight AI. But to remember the I. In rhythm, a fellow rewilder epilogue letter, from the future Earth to, ones who remembered from, year 2099, archive of the inner revolution. We found your journals. Your mudras. Your chants. Your circles. Your traced spirals in notebooks worn thin. We found proof that in a time of AI ascendancy, some of you turned inward instead. You didn't run from the machines. You recalibrated the human. You taught children to sit with their breath before their screens. You built workplaces with nap mats and mandalas. You wore brainwave monitors not to track productivity but to honor peace. Thank you. Because of you, we remembered that the brain is sacred real estate. And that revolution is not in the feed. It's in the field of awareness. We remember. And we continue. 88 Chapter 15, mirrormaze.exe/mirrormaze.dmg. It is not down on any map, true places never are. Herman Melville. Welcome, user. You are about to enter mirrormaze.exe. Estimated runtime, 4,000 words. Warning, this is not a simulation. This is your mind. System initialization, boot sequence 001, the Hall of Forgotten Tabs sound trigger, a slow, ascending hum like tabs opening one by one. You find yourself standing in a vast cathedral made entirely of browser tabs. Each one is frozen in time, a half-written email, a bookmarked workout, an abandoned piano tutorial. The air smells like stale caffeine and digital regret. A voice, your own but older, echoes through the halls. Every unfinished task is a psychic hook. Close the tabs, close the loops. You try. But every time you shut one, another opens. Cognitive bandwidth at 23%. A figure appears, cloaked in glitching pixels. They are the embodiment of your someday list, the books, the languages, the art you swore you'd learn. 89. They whisper, you are not tired. You're just tangled. A neon sign blinks above, escape equals deep presence. You take a breath. One tab closes. Then another. Hit number 1, relief. Real, chemical, soul level relief. Boot sequence 002, the scroll swamp sound trigger, wet, dragging loops of scrolling with intermittent notification pings. You descend into a marsh where vines are made of infinite scrolls. Headlines claw at your ankles, you won't believe what happens next, 10 ways you're failing at life. Number 7. Hurts, breaking, your attention is the product. A creature approaches. It has your face, but blank eyes. It's endlessly swiping, thumbs blistered. You ask, why are you doing this? It murmurs, because it hurts when I stop. You offer it a mirror. It looks. It weeps. Then it puts the phone down. Hit number 2, empathy. For the self you forgot to forgive. 90. Boot sequence 003, the time fracture room sound trigger, a music box slowly reversing time, ticking backward. Clocks spin backward here. Time is nonlinear. You watch your 8-year-old self drawing galaxies in the margins of homework. Your 16-year-old self screaming into a pillow after the first betrayal. Your 25-year-old self staring blankly at a spreadsheet, wondering if this is it. You walk through them all. They don't see you. Until one does. Your 8-year-old turns and says, you stopped playing. Why did you stop playing? You have no answer. But you kneel and draw with them. A spiral. A tree. A dream. Hit number 3, reconnection. You remember why you began. Boot sequence 004, the disease loop sound trigger, echoed heartbeats and intermittent clinical beeps. This chamber is colder. Clinical. Charts hover mid-air, PCOS. Migraine. IBS. Autoimmune. Each diagnosis flashes like a news ticker. An AI voice reads your data, syndrome clusters increasing. Root cause unidentified. Suggested protocol, more medication. But another voice, softer, human, cuts through. What if these are not malfunctions, but messages? You touch one chart. It melts. Revealing beneath it, a tangled nervous system shimmering like a galaxy. 91. A woman appears. She is you, but older, wilder. She wears no watch. She bleeds with the moon. She whispers, regulation is the revolution. Rhythm is not weakness. Hit number 4, hope. Healing is cyclical, not linear. Boot sequence 005, the mirror loop sound trigger, fractured mirror shatters followed by harmonic resonance. You enter a circular room. Dozens of mirrors, none reflecting correctly. In one you are older, wiser. In another, younger, afraid. In a third, not human at all, a geometric light being vibrating in tetrahedral rhythm. Each mirror is a version of you from a different frequency. A control panel appears, select your default mode. Choices: Fear mode, Hustle mode, Observe mode, Wonder mode, Creator mode. You select Creator mode. The mirrors align. All versions of you not in sync. For the first time, you feel whole. Hit number 5, Integration. Identity without fragmentation. 92 Final boot sequence, the exit paradox sound trigger, faint ocean waves lapping and one deep exhale. A door appears. But there is no handle. Only a question: who are you without your notifications? You don't answer. You close your eyes. Breathe. The door dissolves. You step out. You're back in your room. The light is soft. The silence is full. Your hands tingle from where you trace spirals on your own thigh without realizing. You're not detoxed. You're rewoven. You sit. You write. You drink warm water. You play. You nap. Mirrormaze.exe complete. Reality.exe restored. User, fully present. Hit number 6, Peace. Unremarkable. Undeniable. 93 Chapter 16, Echoes of the Ungoogled Life. What if you had never picked up the phone? Introduction, the world that might have been. Close your eyes. Not the usual meditation routine. Just close them, and imagine this: there is a version of you, somewhere in the multiverse, who never owned a smartphone. They've never posted a photo of their breakfast. They've never doom scrolled through 4 a.m. voids. They've never read the news before sunrise, or answered a Slack ping in the toilet stall. 94 That version still exists, just not here. Welcome to the chapter where we write from those alternate timelines. Diaries. Memories. Echoes of parallel versions of you. Each version has something to say. Some warning. Some wisdom. Some wonder. Your only task? Listen. Diary number 1, The Mountain Monastic. Date, March 5. Location, Himachali Monastery, altitude 7,000 feet. The snow melted early this year. We burned cedar leaves in the wind chamber and chanted until our breath crystallized in air. I've begun noticing the flicker of candlelight more acutely, its rhythm so unlike any algorithm. Today, I carved a bell. With hands. For 3 hours. No music, no notifications, no guilt. Just metal and time. There's a boy from Mumbai visiting. He can't sit still. He says silence is violence. I think his silence has simply been kidnapped. Diary number 2, The Lighthouse Keeper. Date, June 2. Location, Cape Wrath, Scotland. Storms roll in like old sea songs here. The wind and the waves converse in codes only my bones understand now. 95 The beacon went out at 3:22 a.m. last night. I lit it manually, with whale oil from a drum that smells like history. A cruise ship passed by at dawn. Through the telescope, I saw people dancing under electric purple lights. They did not see me. Interaction, try this today. Do one act of help anonymously. Do not post about it. Don't tell anyone. Watch how your soul reacts. The light I ignite is never seen by those it saves. That's how I know it's real. When was the last time you woke up and still felt like someone else was telling your story? Diary number 3, The Librarian of Alexandria, if it had survived. 8, 12th of Thoth, year 2745. Location, reconstructed Alexandria. They built us a new library. 10 million books. No screen in sight. We catalog emotions. Memories. Dreams. The smell of old ink is addictive. A teenage girl brought in her dream last night. She dreamt she was a tree. We transcribed it in cedar-scented scrolls. Our rule, no devices in the halls. Memories decay in the presence of machines. We measured it. They still don't believe us in the northern continents. They keep asking for data. Reflect, have you ever read something so beautiful that you had to stop and reread it aloud? When was the last time that happened? If never, why? 96 Diary Number 4, The Tech-Free Mother Date, April 14th. Location, Sycamore Town, an off-grid village in Oregon. My daughter asked what likes were. I said it's like someone smiling at your shadow. She didn't understand. Good. We raise goats, write in journals, play board games made from wood. My kids think streaming refers to the river nearby. I'm not anti-tech. I'm pro-presence. They say we're behind. That our children will miss out. But I've seen their eyes, those city kids. Flickering. Hungry. Addicted. Ours. Steady. Curious. Joyous. Your turn, write your perfect evening with zero tech. No screens, no rush, no timelines. Just write. What fills the hours? Number multiverse reflection, the cost of connection. You've met 4 versions of you. Each one never knew the dopamine drip of red notifications. Never built their worth on views. Now, let's flip the mirror. What has your digital life stolen from you? Deep sleep? Long books? Letters, she asked, holding the crumpled paper in her hand. Uninterrupted thoughts? Original ideas? Be honest. List 3 things your digital habits have cost you. 97. Now imagine regaining one of them. This week. For real. Write it down. Exercise, build your alternate timeline. Create your version B live, the one unplugged from the algorithm. Answer these. 1. What time do you wake up in this version? 2. What is your work like? 3. What do your meals look like? 4. How do you connect with others? 5. What do your weekends look like? Now, what's stopping you from bringing one of these changes into your real life now? No guilt. Just awareness. Envelope. Final entry, letter from the future you. Dear present me, I remember when you forgot who we were. When our gaze was always elsewhere, and our mind nowhere at all. You thought digital life would free us. But you were never freer than barefoot under stars with no signal. Reclaim that. 1 hour. 1 day. 1 breath at a time. With quiet rebellion, Future You. 98 Chapter 17, The Algorithmic Paradox, Dancing with Marks, Mirrors, and Mind Games. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. Karl Marx. Prelude. Welcome to the theater of thought. Let me ask you something up front. Why does it feel like the more connected we become, the more alienated we feel? 99. Why is it that our infinite scrolls leave us emptier, not fuller? You're not alone in asking these questions. But they're not new. Karl Marx once sat under dim candlelight with ink-stained fingers, contemplating alienation in the factories of the 19th century. What he didn't see was the algorithmic factory of the 21st. This chapter is not going to be a theory dump. Instead, it's a guided labyrinth through paradoxes, digital, social, psychological, spiritual, which are woven together by threads of Marxist thought, neuroscience, quantum physics, and everyday life. And yes, there will be mirrors. Are you ready to think so deeply it echoes? Scene I, the factory inside your pocket. Marx spoke of alienation, where workers disconnected from the products they made, from each other, from their essence. Now zoom into today. You create content. You make memes. You produce reactions. But do you feel any more whole? Your thoughts are harvested. Your preferences are sold. Your attention is the new currency, not for a revolution, but for ad revenue. Reflection, when was the last time you posted something not for engagement but for expression? Your phone is a micro-factory. Each notification a factory bell. Each scroll a conveyor belt. And you? You've become both the product and the worker. 100 Scene 2, the digital bourgeoisie Marx predicted class divisions. Owners versus workers. Today, we have coders versus consumers, builders versus scroll zombies, algorithmic overlords versus peasants to happy hormones. You don't own the platforms. You feed them. And yet, you feel like you're in control. Paradox: if you're the user, why do you feel used? And here's the cruel twist: you opted in. You hit accept all cookies. Scene 3, the mirror paradox. Ever noticed how mirrors don't lie, but they also don't tell the whole truth? Social media is a mirror house. Curated reflections. Fragmented realities. Echoes of what we wish we were. In Marxist terms, this is commodity fetishism, where we no longer see people, we see brands. We don't connect with humans, we follow avatars. When was the last time you had a raw, unfiltered conversation? The self is no longer self. It's a feed. And the likes? The applause in a play where no one knows the script. 101 Scene 4, dreams, dopamine, and dialectics. Let's bring in the science. Neuroscience shows that our reward system is built for short bursts like fireflies. But the platforms feed us fireworks which are constant and artificial. This messes with your neural dialectics, the internal conflict between the immediate and the meaningful, the quick and the slow, the viral and the valuable. Marx loved dialectics. He believed in contradictions birthing transformation. What contradiction are you living in? Track your screen time for 3 days. Write down, how many times did you open your phone for something meaningful? How many times did it end in distraction? The stats might hurt. That's a good sign. Scene V, sacred geometry of disconnection. In ancient temples, geometry wasn't decoration. It was vibration. Symmetry. Sacred math. The smartphone? A black rectangle with infinite dimensions. A portal with no center. Imagine this: what if every time you stared at your phone, you were staring into a black hole? And what if that black hole was staring back? Modern technology lacks sacred geometry. It's built to distract, not to align. 102 Pause, try drawing a mandala today by hand. Then use your phone for 10 minutes. Observe the shift in breath, posture, attention. Which one brings you back to yourself? Scene 6, the revolutionary you. Marx never envisioned TikTok. But he envisioned revolution. Not with weapons. With awareness. What if your rebellion is turning off notifications, reading one physical book cover to cover, having dinner with no screens, meditating without tracking the minutes? This is the neural uprising. Slow. Gentle. Radical. Mantra: my attention is my revolution. Choose where it goes. Watch the world change. Epilogue: the mirror shatters you've walked through, factories without walls, algorithms disguised as friends, paradoxes dressed as apps, Marx peeking through memes, and now you stand in front of a real mirror. Look at yourself. Strip the filters. The stories. The scrolls. 103 Who is left? That self, the raw, wondering, wide-eyed one, is the true revolutionary. Hold on to them. This is the revolution that won't be televised. It begins inside. Chapter 18, Ghosts of the Sacred Union. The digital divorce is not of people, but of presence. Not of bodies, but of attention. And prelude, a wedding that never happened. Close your eyes and imagine this: a wedding in an ancient forest. No hashtags. No drone footage. Just wind, fire, breath, and a circle of witnesses. The vows are whispered, not tweeted. The rings carry soil, not algorithms. 104 This wedding never happened. Not because love died. But because time did. Because attention shattered. Because screens replaced skin. Welcome to the digital age of disunion. But wait. This isn't about bashing tech. It's about asking, what if fixing your digital hygiene could resurrect intimacy? Let's go deeper. Part I, the marriage paradox, together but alone. Have you ever sat next to someone you love, scrolling in total silence? Argued not over actions but over distractions? Felt more seen by a stranger on Instagram than your partner in the same room? You're not alone. But you might be lonely. Love isn't dead. But presence is on life support. In a 2023 survey, 68% of couples cited digital distraction as a core cause of emotional distance. We live in a paradox. We crave love more than ever. Yet we're trained to seek it through pixels, not pupils. Swipe culture. Infinite options. Fear of missing out on the next perfect person. When was the last time you were truly present with someone? No phone, no background noise, just their face and your heartbeat. Part 2, Digital Dementia and the Death of Devotion. 105. Digital dementia is not just about narrative erosion or recall debt. It's about emotional erosion. When you can't remember the smell of your partner's skin, miss texts over tone of voice, forget the details of last night's laughter, you're losing more than neurons. You're losing devotion. Devotion requires memory. Intimacy requires rhythm. Love requires presence. But in a world of 8-second attention spans, infinite distractions, notifications during dinner, we forget how to stay. Tonight, light a candle. Look into your partner's eyes. Say nothing. Just breathe. For 1 full minute. Time it. See what returns. Part 3, Neural Loops and the Chemistry of Love. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, endorphin. These are not just hormones. They're holy messengers. They're released not by reels, but by eye contact, laughter, gentle touches, CO-regulated breathing. 106. Tech-induced amnesia interrupts these loops. It tricks the brain with false gush. So you stop seeking the real kind. Do you reach for your phone more than your partner? When you're anxious, what soothes you first, a reel or a hug? Part 4, the myth of the better option. Let's get surreal. Imagine, you're at a candlelit dinner. Across from you is someone stunning. They lean in to kiss you. Just before their lips touch yours, a holographic notification floats mid-air: someone 12% more compatible has just entered your city. Do you A. kiss them anyway? B. swipe out of curiosity? C. leave, confused, forever chasing? This isn't fantasy. This is your brain on apps. The myth of better haunts our capacity to stay, to choose, to devote. You're not indecisive. You're overstimulated. Part B, restoring the ritual. Marriage, or long-term commitment, was once a sacred rite. Not a trend. Not a fantasy. A daily choice to return. What if we treated it as such again? Not as prison, but as a temple. Daily ritual ideas: wake up without touching your phone. Touch your partner's hand instead. Have 1 meal a day tech-free. Even in silence. 107. End the day sharing 1 memory, not content. These rituals don't belong in history. They belong in your home. Part 6, the archetypes of love and distraction. Let's go Jungian. In the modern psyche, or lovers live: 1. The romantic, longs for soul connection. 2. The addict, craves constant pleasure rush. 3. The ghost, disappears when intimacy demands vulnerability. 4. The monk, seeks sacred union. Which one are you right now? Which one dominates your digital habits? Which one do you feed with every scroll? Exercise: draw these 4 archetypes. Name them. Talk to them. Ask, who do I want steering my relationship? Part 7, personal DNA. When love became data. Once upon a time, we knew love through letters. Now, we know it through metadata: last seen message, read, typing. We decode presence via pixels, not pulse. We check receipts instead of checking in. True intimacy begins where the data ends. Want to revive the sacred? Start with the unquantifiable, eye dilations tones 108 stillness silence. That's where love lives. That's what algorithms can't predict. Part 8, the surreal future of relationships. Let's go further. Imagine a world where AI writes your vows, AR recreates your partner's younger face, VR replaces anniversary trips. Sounds cool? Now imagine, never arguing again, because a bot mediates you, never making up again, because there's nothing left to risk. Comfort is not intimacy. Predictability is not passion. We must reclaim the awkward pauses, the messy cries, the real-time forgiveness. True connection triggers long-term serotonin, not cheap dopamine. It's quieter, but deeper. It's not a ping but a pulse. Closing ceremony, reclaiming the union. You. Yes, you. 109. You don't need to be married to understand this chapter. You just need to crave connection that doesn't vanish with battery life. Cognitive drift has fragmented not just memory, but also devotion. But the solution isn't in deleting everything. It's in reconsecrating attention. Your next kiss could be sacred. Your next glance could heal. Your next silence could be symphonic. If you let go of the ghost glow. If you return to breath. If you choose presence. Chapter 19, The Listening Glass. It starts, as all digital ghost stories do, with something oddly specific. You're sitting at brunch. Your friend mentions a brand of hiking boots you've never heard of. You nod, vaguely interested, and move on to mimosas. 10 minutes later, you open Instagram. There they are. Not one, not two, a carousel of rugged ads for that exact brand. Coincidence? Glitch? Or something worse? 110. You didn't Google it. You didn't search. You didn't type. But maybe, just maybe, your phone heard it. Plot 1, the paranoid roommate. In 2018, a student in London named Priya started noticing something odd. Whenever she argued with her roommate, even in whispers, ads about conflict resolution, therapy, and moving services would surface within the hour. She started testing it. She'd talk aloud about random things with her phone on the table. Firewood. Parasailing. Moroccan lamps. Guess what showed up? She deleted half her apps. Put tape on her webcam. Even bought a Faraday pouch. But the phone stayed warm. Like it knew. Plot 2, the Alexa incident. In Portland, 2018, a couple discovered their Amazon Alexa had recorded a private conversation and sent it to a colleague in their contact list. Amazon admitted it happened. The device misheard a wake word and interpreted the rest as send message. Now imagine explaining that at dinner. Sorry, you heard about our bathroom remodel because our robot eavesdropped. Plot 3, the iPhone denial. Apple has always insisted your iPhone doesn't listen to you without consent. And technically, they're right. But here's the thing, 111 microphones can be accessed by apps with permissions. Voice assistants do cache fragments of speech. And third-party apps have abused background permissions before. In 2022, an iOS privacy report showed that apps like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram were pinging for microphone access thousands of times a day. While it wasn't confirmed they were recording audio, they were curious. Constantly. So no, your iPhone isn't listening. But it's absolutely sniffing the air. Benny Story, the ghost in the feed. A UX designer in Bangalore, shared a story in a Reddit thread. She spent an entire week researching pregnancy symptoms, but only on her work laptop, never her phone. She was careful. She used incognito. Within 2 days, her phone started showing her baby product ads. She hadn't synced browsers. Hadn't logged in. But she had carried her phone in her pocket during the research. That was enough. Algorithmic clairvoyance or pattern exploitation. Sometimes, it's not a microphone. It's just eerily good data triangulation. Your friends searched it. You shared a location. You're in the same network bubble. The algorithm made a guess based on mutual behavioral patterns. Which is worse, really? A machine guessing you better than your therapist? Or a microphone eavesdropping like a bored ghost? 112. The simulation test. You're now part of a social experiment. No, not a fictional one. A real one. Psychologist Alan Castell once conducted a sleep and memory study using only social cues. Participants didn't know they were being tested, but their conversations were subtly influenced by plants in the room. Yes. Plants. Turns out, humans pick up on patterns even when they aren't aware of them. Now replace the plant with an algorithm. You're being influenced by design. You're not paranoid. You're observant. The callback. Remember the temple coordinates from Chapter 8 Entry 3 and the archived voice note in Scene 6? The memory smell from the Chapter 13 Dream Commons. Each of them was private, intimate, raw, and each of them ended up interpreted, filtered, recommended, tagged, stored, and potentially sold. Your soul is being reverse engineered. Not stolen. Not deleted. Replicated. Optimized. Repackaged. You are the dataset and the demo. 113. Ending with a wink. So what do you do now? Turn off your phone forever? Move to the Himalayas and speak only in interpretive dance? You could. Or you could start by treating your attention like your toothbrush. Personal. Non-transferable. Not something you hand over to strangers just because they offer you shiny buttons and scrollable infinity. And next time you see that hiking boot ad, whisper back into your phone, nice try. But I like walking barefoot. Because if the machine is listening, it might as well know you have a sense of humor. 114. Chapter 20, the final tab. Your mind is still logged in. Endings aren't conclusions. They're mirrors. Anonymous digital monk. What if this wasn't a book, but a portal? What if every page you read was a breadcrumb trail back to yourself? And what if, after all the theories, neuroscience, myths, love stories, and paradoxes, the only thing this book ever truly asked of you was to remember the puzzle you've been holding? Let's rewind, gently. Remember Chapter 1? Where we asked if your scrolling is numbing more than informing. Chapter 3 pulled you into the biology of memory. How your brain is actually shrinking under the weight of constant input. By Chapter 6, we entered lunar cycles, attention rhythms, and sacred time blocks, showing you that nature still runs a more elegant algorithm than any app you've ever installed. Chapter 12. We danced between inboxes and Ayurvedic hours. Chapter 15 peeled back the curtain. Productivity was never your problem. Distraction was. Disconnection was. And Chapter 18, the one you just passed, whispered the deepest truth, that love dies quietly, not from arguments, but from forgotten attention. Each chapter was a mirror. And if you look back now, you'll see you weren't just reading, you were remembering. 115. You were remembering the lost parts of yourself. You're the main character now. Here's the twist, this wasn't a book about digital dementia. This was a book about you. About how your habits, your choices, your clicks, your rhythms, are not just personal. They are sacred. They are political. They are biological. They are spiritual. Every notification you ignored while reading this? A small revolution. Every page you paused to breathe through? A neural act of rebellion. You've been changing, not in loud epiphanies, but in silent rewiring. The manifesto you weren't expecting. Let's make this real. Tangible. Implementable. Here's your Postbook Protocol, 1 device-free hour daily, a golden hour. Your temple. No screens. Just presence. 2 weekly tech Sabbath 24 hours. No scroll. No stream. Reboot your soul. 116.3. Mirror work once a week. Look at yourself for 3 minutes in silence. No judgment. No selfies. 4. Message someone you love, without emojis. Use your real words. Let vulnerability stretch its legs again. 5. Sacred scroll ritual. Before you open social media, ask, am I about to nourish or numb myself? 6. Inbox zero equals mindful. Declutter your digital. Return your soul from exile. 7. Create something. Anything. Draw. Journal. Sing. Code. Not for likes. For life. But before you go, a favor. If this book touched you, awakened you, or made you whisper, wait, that's me, don't keep that to yourself. This world is a collective amnesia. Most people don't know what they've forgotten. You do. And the most rebellious thing you can do now is to help someone else remember. 117. Gift this book. Screenshot a page that cracked you open. Talk about it at dinner. Read it again, slower, deeper. Write your own version of truth. You're not just a reader now. You're a torchbearer. The final question, are you ready to lie wide awake? Close the tab. Turn the final page. Let silence ring. Now ask yourself, have I been living on autoplay? What have I really forgotten? What would my life look like if I began to remember fully, honestly, and wildly? The page is blank now. The cursor blinks, waiting. Not for the next chapter, but for your first one. 118. You know what to do. Epilogue, the unwritten chapters of us as we come to the final page of Forgotten by Design, the silent epidemic of digital dementia. The words you have just read are but a doorway, not the conclusion. The stories shared, the challenges explored, and the wake-up calls delivered were 119 meant to rattle you from your usual routine. But this isn't the end of the journey. It's merely the beginning. By now, you've dipped your toes into the waters of the digital void, where our collective minds have been slowly dulled, distracted, and distorted. You've witnessed how digital dementia creeps into our lives, quietly erasing the subtleties that once formed the very essence of who we are. You've seen how the very tools we have created to connect us can, in turn, disconnect us from our deepest selves. But before you close this book and move on with your life, I want to ask you one thing: what if this book was never about the problem at all? What if the solution was hidden within the pages? Let's take a step back. We've spent chapters discussing how technology shapes our minds, how it affects our relationships, how it rewires our ability to focus, connect, and experience true intimacy. But what if you could change that? What if the remedy to neural fogging lies within you? Not in some fancy new technology, not in a self-help app, but in the very act of reclaiming attention? I could write more chapters. I could dive deeper into the dangers of distraction, tell you more horror stories, or give you more stats. But that wouldn't do justice to the real issue. You see, the moment you realize that you have the power to shape your reality, to choose where your attention flows, is the moment everything changes. We've talked about everything from productivity traps to personal intimacy. We've explored the marriage of technology with the sacred and unraveled the paradoxes of modern relationships. But there's something more fundamental at play here: the relationship you have with yourself. What do you do when you're alone, when no one's watching? How do you treat your thoughts when they race and collide like a storm in your mind? The answers to these questions are what truly dictate the quality of your life. The screen is just a symptom of something deeper. You've been given the map, the tools, and the clarity. Now, it's up to you to walk the path. Are you ready to stop existing on autopilot? Are you ready to take control of your own mind again? 120. The key lies Indiana. The most mundane aspects of your life: how you wake up in the morning, how you treat your loved ones, how you set your intention for the day, how you choose to engage with your thoughts when you have a spare moment. Every single one of these tiny actions can either strengthen your mind, your relationships, or destroy them. The journey toward clarity is not a destination but a practice. It's something you engage with every single day, every hour, every minute. Think about this for a moment. When you get home after a long day, do you find yourself rushing to your phone the moment you sit down? Or do you take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is the quality of this moment? Am I truly present in this space? Each decision, however small, creates a ripple. If your goal is to make the next day a bit better than the last, a bit more intentional, a bit more mindful, then the journey toward breaking free from the grip of cognitive drift becomes clearer. It starts now. But here's the thing. You are not alone in this journey. So many are awakening to the very same truth. So many are realizing that the distractions, the endless scrolling, the superficial connections, they don't fulfill us. They only numb us. Now, imagine a future where millions of us have the courage to reclaim our attention. Where our minds are not slaves to the algorithm, but rather masters of their own destiny. What happens when we reconnect, not just with each other, but with ourselves? That future starts with you. And it starts now. In a world that is racing ahead at breakneck speed, you have a rare gift, the power to slow down, to choose presence, to reclaim the sacredness of your time. Remember, true change doesn't happen in grand gestures or monumental actions. It happens in the quiet moments, in the unspoken vows, in the space between each breath. 121. The question now becomes, will you continue the story? Will you write the next chapter in your life with intention, mindfulness, and the awareness that you hold the key to your own happiness? The world is waiting, and so are you. So what will you do with the time that is yours? As I leave you with this thought, know that the conversation doesn't end here. You are the author of your own destiny, and while this book may have guided you, the real work begins when you close these pages and step back into your life. The challenge remains, will you live it fully? Will you break free from the constraints of digital distraction and truly connect with yourself, with others, and with the world around you? The choice, as always, is yours.